No wonder Taoist Li is unwilling to join the Purple Mist sect, Wu Xiu said with a smile. If I had a foundation like this, I'd probably be happy just being a loose cultivator too. The others all nodded in agreement. It's just a peaceful little corner, nothing special. Li Chang'an smiled, then waved his hand, producing some fresh spirit fruits to offer his guests. A few days later, the group from the Purple Mist sect departed. Chang'an Mountain returned to its usual tranquility. Only then did Li Chang'an tell Xianxia what had happened to the Mu family over the past few years. He didn't hide much, even telling her about his fake identity as Mu Yuanshan. After all, he had no intention of propping up the Mu family forever. Once Mu Xianxia achieved core formation, the responsibility of supporting the Mu family would naturally fall to her. So much has happened these past few years. Mu Xianxia sighed with melancholy. She had missed so much. Fortunately, the Mu family still existed and hadn't been wiped out in the war between the two domains. She didn't return to the Mu family immediately. Instead, she spent a month recuperating on Chang'an Mountain, conditioning her essence, qi, and spirit in preparation for her breakthrough to core formation. 1 month later, the heaven and earth spiritual power stirred, and a vast core formation celestial phenomenon manifested. As was his custom, Li Chang'an activated the concealing array, masking the entire phenomenon. In the immortal city at the foot of Chang'an Mountain, the many cultivators there didn't notice the slightest change. Mu Xianxia has a profound foundation. Her attempt at core formation shouldn't fail. Li Chang'an thought to himself, his gaze profound as he watched the celestial phenomenon. Mu Xianxia's firewood spirit body inherently boosted her chances of successfully reaching core formation. The exact percentage wasn't clear. After all, cultivators who possessed a spirit body were exceedingly rare. However, based on records in various ancient texts, Li Chang'an estimated that the success rate granted by a spirit body should be over 30%. On top of that, the celestial grade technique Mu Xianxia cultivated provided another 10% chance of success. She had also borrowed a high-quality 5 elements golden condensation pill and a rare core formation spiritual object from Li Chang'an. All in all, her chance of successfully forming a core should be over 85%. All of you, watch closely. Take this opportunity to seriously comprehend the core formation process. Li Chang'an instructed Luo Yunshu and the others beside him. The ones watching this core formation process were all foundation establishment cultivators from the various families at the foot of the mountain. Luo Yunshu, Wang Lingjing, Su Chang'an, and others. Among them, Li Chang'an had the highest hopes for Luo Yunshu, followed by Su Chang'an. Su Fugui was also watching from the sidelines, but he had long since lost his motivation to cultivate and was still stuck in the early stage of foundation establishment. He was now plump and round, with a ruddy complexion, and dressed in a magnificent brocade robe. He looked just like a wealthy lord from the mortal realm. "Big brother," Su Fugui asked, "do you think Chang'an truly has a chance at core formation?" "That will depend on his own destiny." Li Chang'an didn't give a definite answer. Su Chang'an had 40 strands of spirit charm, just one shy of a top-grade spirit root. He had already switched to the celestial grade wood element cultivation method Li Chang'an had given him. Barring any accidents, reaching the peak of foundation establishment wouldn't be difficult for him. When that time came, Li Chang'an would naturally lend him some core formation treasures. But whether he could succeed or not was still up to him. 5 days later, Mu Xianxia completed her core formation, successfully condensing a superior true pill. A true pill of this quality, the same as those of the 3 sect ancestors, Gu Qinghang, He Xiangfeng, and Xingyan, meant she had a promising future, with the potential to one day reach the late stage of golden core. "Thank you for standing guard for me, Taoist Li," Mu Xianxia said with sincere gratitude as she emerged from her seclusion. She wore a green dress that complemented her delicate features and petite frame. The fragrance of spirit plants wafted from her, making her seem like a nature spirit born from the mountain's flora. Li Chang'an vaguely sensed a familiar aura about her. The Cyanwood spirit body. This constitution seems to be related to the ancient wood evergreen technique I practice. Taoist Mu, how much do you know about your Cyanwood spirit body? I don't know much about it. Mu Xianxia was also puzzled about her own spirit body. She had examined herself long ago, but had never found anything out of the ordinary. It had always seemed like a normal constitution. And yet, she definitely possessed a spirit body. Li Chang'an asked again, "Now that you've formed your golden core, has your spirit body changed in any way?" "There are no changes for now. If anything changes in the future, I will be sure to let you know." After some more conversation, Xianxia left Chang'an Mountain and headed straight for the Mu clan territory in Red Leaf Valley. When she entered Red Leaf Valley, exuding the aura of a golden core master, the entire Mu family erupted in celebration. "The ancestors have blessed us. Our Mu family has another golden core master." The patriarch Mu Chengsong was overcome with emotion, tears of joy streaming down his aged face. Now the Mu family had two golden core masters, both of them superior true pill cultivators. Their future was brighter than ever. Hearing this, Mu Xiaoxiao felt a wave of complicated emotions. She was the only one in the entire Mu family who knew that their other golden core master was merely a puppet body controlled by Li Chang'an. 1 month later, Mu Xiaoxiao held her core formation ceremony. To thank Li Chang'an for saving her life, she gave him all the congratulatory gifts she received during the ceremony. Naturally, Li Chang'an didn't refuse. After accepting the gifts, he didn't stay for long. He hurried back to Chang'an Mountain and once again set up the concealing array. The reason was simple. The 10,000 poison goo in his sleeve was about to have a breakthrough. Before long, the heaven and earth spiritual power stirred, forming a small spiritual vortex. Having devoured a large number of poison Dao treasures, the 10,000 poison goo had a profound foundation and quickly broke through to the middle stage of Tier 3. "Master, I'm hungry again." It put on a pitiful display, crawling before Li Chang'an and rolling around several times to beg for food. Li Chang'an glanced at its round, bulging belly. Without a word, he tossed out a quasite ear 4 poison Dao treasure. The 10,000 poison goo was instantly overjoyed. "Thank you, master." It hugged the treasure and vanished back into Li Chang'an's sleeve in a flash. Li Chang'an returned to his cave residence, sealed the entrance, and released Yi Sang's soul. "Taoist Yi, how have you been?" "Li Chang'an, how do you possess a venerable soul banner? Don't tell me you're a demon sect cultivator too." Chapter 628, Chapter 309, Successive Promotions, Tier 4 Divination. Yi Sang's face was filled with disbelief. He had thought he would be able to walk the reincarnation path, but instead, he was absorbed into the venerable soul banner. During this time, he had been severely tortured by that evil soul. Li Chang'an couldn't be bothered to respond, and directly asked his question. "Taoist Yi, how many nascent soul true monarchs does your 5 Poisons Valley have?" 5. Yi Sang answered honestly. The evil soul stood to the side, its face ferocious, looking as if it might strike at any moment. Because of this, the interrogation went very smoothly. "How many nascent soul demon sects are there in the Yan country?" 5, and my 5 Poisons Valley is one of them. "How strong are the other demon sects?" "They are all very strong." Yi Sang told him the truth. The overall strength of the demonic Tao in the Yan country was far greater than that of the righteous Tao in the Zhao country. In the eyes of the Yan country, the Zhao country was just a juicy piece of meat that every power wanted a bite of. The strength of the two sides was completely mismatched. The Nether Soul sect, which Li Chang'an had frequently dealt with, had a full 6 nascent soul old demons. Does the Nether Soul sect have any plans for the Zhao country's cultivation immortality realm? Why establish a subsect here? Li Chang'an had asked this question to those Yin Soul sect's saint children and the vice sect leader, but none of them knew. He had assumed Yi Sang wouldn't know either, since Yi Sang was a cultivator from the 5 Poisons Valley. But surprisingly, Yi Sang knew some inside information. "I once heard my master say that the Nether Soul sect scheme runs very deep. If it succeeds, the entire cultivation immortality realm will be overturned." "Oh, what is the scheme specifically?" "That I do not know." Yi Sang explained that his strength was too low to have access to such core secret. If he could have reached the nascent soul realm, he would surely know more, but alas, he was now just a soul. After a moment, Li Chang'an recalled him into the venerable soul banner. "The demonic Tao's strength is greater than the righteous Tao's, and it seems they have been scheming for many years. I'm afraid great chaos is imminent. No wonder signs of a turbulent era are everywhere. I need to prepare early and create a few more identities as a demon cultivator." He sat deep within his cave abode, pondering for a long time. With his current strength and disguise abilities, even if the demonic Tao consumed the entire cultivation immortality realm, he was confident he could continue his cultivation under the identity of a demon cultivator. Of course, before the turbulent times arrived, the stronger he himself was, the better. In the days that followed, Chang'an focused his attention on the celestial grade concealing technique, the shadow transformation illusion body. He made a surprising discovery. This magic was exceptionally compatible with him. After just a few short months, he had cultivated it from entry level to great success. Not bad, another method for saving my life and launching sneak attacks. With a thought, Chang'an cast the magic. His entire person vanished from the spot, his form and aura ceasing to exist. The concealing effect of this magic far surpassed the refining shadow, invisible technique he previously possessed. After a round of tests, he was quite satisfied with this magic. With my current concealment abilities, I should be able to deal with that Yuan Tianxuan. Chang'an cast his gaze toward the depths of the Black Dragon Mountain range, where the Yin Soul Sect's mountain gate was located. To outsiders, the Yin Soul Sect's spiritual land was extremely mysterious. Almost no one knew its precise location, but Chang'an had known for a long time. In the days that followed, he intentionally exposed a sliver of his aura and began fishing again. This time, Yuan Tianxuan quickly took the bait. In less than a month, the puppet Chang'an controlled had detected the feeling of being spied upon several times. The time should be ripe. Chang'an went a lie in wait outside the Yin Soul Sect's mountain gate, just waiting for Yuan Tianxuan to make his move. A few days later, late at night, a golden light appeared before his eyes. You used a puppet as bait, successfully lured Yuan Tianxuan out of the Yin Soul Sect's mountain gate, and killed him, obtaining a large number of souls and a Tier 4 divination inheritance. The old coot was carrying his inheritance with him. Chang'an was delighted. He had been worried that the tier of his divination skill was too low. His move against Yuan Tianxuan, this time, was only for the treasures and souls he possessed. This divination inheritance was an unexpected bonus. Although the divination signs are good, I can only wait for them to appear passively. It's far less convenient than actively performing divination. Chang'an focused his mind, keeping a constant watch on the Yin Soul Sect's mountain gate. A few hours later, Yuan Tianxuan's figure appeared. There was no one beside him. He left the Yin Soul Sect alone, seemingly heading for the black market. But after getting far away from the Yin Soul Sect's mountain gate, he changed direction and hurried toward another location. That location was precisely the fake location Chang'an had intentionally revealed. This old coot is pretty cautious. Could he be on guard against people from the Yin Soul Sect? Chang'an saw through Yuan Tianxuan's plan. He most likely wanted to hog the opportunity for himself. He's got a big appetite, but he isn't fated to enjoy this opportunity. He secretly followed from the shadows, continuously closing the distance to Yuan Tianxuan. The distance between the two grew shorter and shorter. Thanks to his great success in the shadow transformation illusion body, Yuan Tianxuan never noticed Chang'an's presence. He was still pondering. What exactly is that Fan's opportunity? Could it be a treasure left behind by some divinity transformation true monarch? If it really is, then I. Just as he was thinking this, a cyan green light suddenly erupted in front of him. Cyanwood divine light. Chang'an had already entered the borrowed state, his magical power reaching the middle stage of golden core. This blast of cyanwood divine light was particularly astonishing. Yuan Tianxuan had no time to react and was hit head-on. The several protective treasures around his body all shattered at once. His face filled with horror, he was just about to use more treasures. But Chang'an's fist had already arrived before his face. Boom! Yuan Tianxuan's head suddenly exploded. He died instantly on the spot. The battle from start to finish took less than a single breath's time. Although his divination ability was strong, his physique was extremely weak. It was only natural that he couldn't withstand a close-range sneak attack from Chang'an. Soul comes. Chang'an barked coldly. Yuan Tianxuan's soul immediately appeared, a look of terror still lingering on its face. I'm dead. He couldn't believe he had died so quickly. The soul banner in Chang'an's hand fluttered. Without wasting any words, he absorbed the soul into the banner. Afterward, he swiftly cleaned up all traces. After finishing all this, he vanished from the spot in the blink of an eye. Chapter 629, Chapter 310, Reverse Slaying a Middle Stage Opponent. Everyone is shocked. Deep within the Yin Soul Sect, in a secret chamber, a soul lamp suddenly went out. Wu Gu, seated cross-legged in the depths of the secret chamber, suddenly opened his eyes. Master Yuan. The soul lamp that had gone out belonged to Yuan Tianxuan. A moment later, the auras of more than 20 demonic golden core cultivators erupted from deep within the Yin Soul Sect. Wu Gu led the group, seething with killing intent. They searched everywhere for a long time but found nothing. Li Fan. His face was filled with murderous intent, his tone ice cold. With Master Yuan's divination skill, he couldn't have failed to foresee his own doom. The only way this could have happened is if Li Fan attacked him. Wu Gu almost instantly thought of Li Chang'an. He immediately gave an order to a vice-sect leader. Send word of what happened here back to the Yan country. Request a true Tier 4 divination grandmaster to take action. We must divine that Li Fan's location. Yes. Soon, a message left the Yin Soul Sect, speeding toward the northern Yan country. At the same time, on Chang'an Mountain, deep within his cave residence, Li Chang'an was taking stock of the spoils from his trip. Spiritual light flashed in his hand, and a Tier 3 venerable soul banner appeared. This old bastard really had a lot of souls, 2,700,000 of them, but the quality is too poor. There are far too many mortal souls. Li Chang'an much preferred the souls of cultivators. Even the soul of a mere chi-refining first-layer cultivator was far stronger than a mortal's soul. Oh well, I can't be greedy. He shook his head slightly and casually tossed the soul banner to his own. The number of souls within the two soul banners combined now exceeded 6 million. The large number of mortal souls caused the overall quality of the combined collection to drop even further. However, quantity made up for the lack of quality. With so many souls providing power to the evil soul at once, it was enough for him to match a late-stage golden core cultivator. Li Chang'an continued to rummage through the storage pouch and quickly found the treasures needed for the venerable soul banner to recover to Tier 3 top grade. Eat up. He took out the treasures and tossed them to the venerable soul banner. Thank you, Master. The artifact spirit's stuttering voice rang out. A dense black mist billowed out and devoured all the treasures. A moment later, the venerable soul banner's tier successfully recovered to Tier 3 top grade. But this was not its highest tier. Li Chang'an had communicated with the artifact spirit and learned that the venerable soul banner originated from the Nether Prison sect, one of the 9 ancient major sects. It had been refined into its final form by a Tier 5 refiner from the Nether Prison sect. At its peak, the venerable soul banner had reached Tier 5 top grade. However, it had been shattered during a great calamity. It still had a long way to go to be fully restored to its peak condition. One step at a time, there's no rush. For Li Chang'an, its current tier was just barely sufficient. With a thought, he drew upon the power of the more than 6 million sub-souls, channeling all of it into the evil soul. In the blink of an eye, the evil soul's tier reached Tier 3 late stage. Li Chang'an asked him, "Have you comprehended any new magic?" The evil soul scratched his head. "No, still nothing." "How strong is your netherworld evil domain?" "Trapping a late golden core stage cultivator is no problem. Even powerful figures like a saint child or a saintess would find it difficult to shatter it instantly. At the very least, I can trap them for a few breaths." "Not bad." Li Chang'an nodded slightly, reasonably satisfied. A netherworld evil domain cast by a Tier 3 late-stage evil soul should be able to trap Liu Feiyan for a short while. In a life-or-death battle, a single moment can change everything. He continued to sort through the remaining treasures. Soon spiritual light flashed in his hand, and a jade scroll appeared. A Tier 4 low-grade divination inheritance. The corners of Li Chang'an's mouth lifted into a slight smile. This was the first Tier 4 inheritance he had ever obtained. He probed it with his divine sense for a brief look. The contents of the inheritance were mostly profound and complex, like an indecipherable heavenly script to an outsider. For most cultivators, the divination skill was even more difficult to master than other skills like alchemy or artifact refining. With ordinary skills, one could still make progress through diligent practice, even with poor talent. But the divination skill was different. If one lacked talent, it could take decades just to reach the entry level. Li Chang'an, however, was an exception. Perhaps due to the influence of the divinations, he learned the art of divination remarkably quickly. Now, after just a casual browse through the inheritance's contents, his divination skill was already showing signs of a breakthrough from Tier 2 middle grade to Tier 2 top grade. From now on, I'll multitask and practice divination while I do my body refinement. Li Chang'an made up his mind. Facing the increasingly chaotic cultivation immortality realm, he had to gain the ability to perform divination at will. He couldn't just passively wait for the divinations to appear. After all, he still didn't know what caused the divinations to appear. If the divinations were to suddenly vanish one day, never to return, he would be in serious trouble. He reined in his thoughts and continued to rummage through the storage pouch. Inside the storage pouch were numerous treasures related to divination, such as various types of turtle shells and beast bones. It's a shame there are no Tier 4 turtle shells. Li Chang'an felt a twinge of regret. The highest tier turtle shell among them was only a Tier 3 top grade. Then again, that made sense. Yuan Tianxuan's divination skill hadn't reached Tier 4, and his cultivation was stagnant at the golden core stage. It would have been very difficult for him to obtain a Tier 4 treasure. After a while, Li Chang'an finished taking stock. He put away the storage pouch and released Yuan Tianxuan's soul. Even now, Yuan Tianxuan's soul was still in a daze, unable to accept the fact that he was dead. You're not Li Fan, you're Li Chang'an of Chang'an Mountain. It seems I'm quite famous for Taoist Yuan to recognize me. Of course I know you, the first person in the southern domain in 1,000 years to achieve core formation with a low-grade spirit root. Yuan Tianxuan's expression was wary. As he spoke, he covertly surveyed his surroundings. Then he suddenly realized. Wait, that means Li Fan was just your alias. Li Chang'an gave a slight nod. Chapter 630, Chapter 310, Reverse laying a middle stage, everyone shocked. Taoist Yuan, I have a few questions for you. Cooperate and you can spare yourself physical torment. I no longer have a body, I'm just a soul. What physical torment is there to speak of? Yuan Tianxuan's expression turned ugly, and he didn't look like he intended to cooperate. But when the evil soul appeared, his attitude changed drastically. Taoist Li, although my status in the Nether Soul sect was high, my skills ultimately failed to break through to Tier 4. I couldn't access core information, so I don't know much. I'm afraid what I know may not satisfy you. It's all right, Taoist Yuan, just tell me what you know. Li Chang'an then proceeded to ask over a dozen questions. Yuan Tianxuan's answers were mostly the same as Yi Sang's. Although he was a member of the Nether Soul sect, he didn't know the specifics of their plot. I only know that for the plan to succeed, the more cultivators that die in the cultivation immortality realm, the better. The more, the better. Are they trying to gather a massive number of souls to refine some sort of soul Dao treasure? I'm not sure about that. In the course of their conversation, Yuan Tianxuan revealed a very important piece of information. The identity of the first sect leader of the Nether Soul sect was very special. It was just as Li Chang'an had previously guessed. That sect leader had been a core disciple of the ancient Nether prison sect. He used a hermit coffin to survive that great calamity, waking up 30,000 years ago to establish the Nether Soul sect. That was why the Nether Soul sect possessed so many legacies from the ancient Nether prison sect. Yuan Tianxuan explained, that sect leader holds a very unique worldview. He believes all mortals are nothing but livestock to be slaughtered at will. He thinks the cultivation immortality realm is inherently a place where the strong devour the weak, that the demonic Tao is the true righteous path, and that the so-called righteous Tao is a demonic aberration that defies the laws of the celestial Tao. That philosophy does align with the cultivation principles of the 9 ancient major sects. Li Chang'an recalled his first life in the dream that took him back to ancient times. In that life, his first senior brother had once led them out of the sect and down the mountain to harvest the mortals of the mortal realm. A single expedition led to immense slaughter, reaping over 1 million souls. From a modern perspective, such an act would be considered purely demonic. But back then, none of the cultivators from the 9 great immortal sects thought anything of it. The strong preying on the weak was a matter of natural order, perfectly aligned with the laws of the celestial Tao. Why should it be forbidden? This wasn't just true for the human race. It was the same for all of the 10,000 races. Powerful demon beasts would also hunt weaker ones. The righteous sects of today would have been considered demon sects that defied the celestial Tao back then. Yuan Tianxuan added, that sect leader once declared that he wanted to right the wrongs of history, to restore the name of the true righteous Tao, and to revive the glory of the 9 great sects. I think the Nether Soul sect's plot may be related to this. Redeem the name of the demonic Tao and make it the new righteous Tao. Li Chang'an was lost in thought. The idea sounded somewhat absurd. But if one looked at it from the perspective of a demonic cultivator, it seemed perfectly normal. Enough, the great chaos hasn't arrived yet. It's useless to overthink things. I should focus on reaching the nascent soul realm first. He pushed these thoughts aside for now. Without sufficient strength, knowing more was pointless. Are there any opportunities for a nascent soul breakthrough within the Yin Soul sect? None. Not even on the Wugu Saint Child. I'm not entirely sure about him, but there are definitely none in the Yin Soul sect's treasure vault. The treasure vault of the main sect, the Nether Soul sect, does have some, however. Yuan Tianxuan was quite cooperative, doing his best to tell him everything he knew. About an hour later, Li Chang'an finished his questioning and returned him to the venerable soul banner. In the following days, the focus of his cultivation gradually shifted to divination. In less than a month, his divination skill broke through to Tier 3. Another Tier 3 skill under my belt. But Li Chang'an wasn't satisfied with this and continued to hone the skill. Time flew by, and soon more than a year had passed. During that time, Li Chang'an sensed on several occasions that someone was attempting to divine him. These last few times, the sensation was stronger than ever before. Could it be that a Tier 4 divination grandmaster has made a move? He gazed up at the sky, lost in thought. A grandmaster whose divination skill had reached Tier 4 was someone that even a nascent soul true monarch had to treat with caution. However, Li Chang'an wasn't flustered. A Tier 4 divination skill shouldn't be enough to uncover my true identity. The daily divination I receive should be of a tier far beyond the 4th. He continued his cultivation with peace of mind. His divination skill improved at a shocking pace, soon reaching the top grade of Tier 3. On this day, Li Chang'an temporarily stopped his cultivation. He quietly left Chang'an Mountain and headed for the Thousand Lakes secret realm. He wasn't going in search of opportunities, but rather to attend Zai Yun's 80th birthday celebration. I can't let my connection to Zai Yun fade. After all, she's Zai's younger sister. A few days later, Li Chang'an entered the Thousand Lakes secret realm and soon arrived at the spiritual ore deposit. He used his shadow transformation illusion body, which he had mastered to the great success stage, landing silently aboard the Purple Mist sect's flying ship without being detected by Wei Su. Who's there? Controlling the flying ship's array, Zai's gaze turned cold. She brandished a magical treasure and stared in Li Chang'an's direction. Although Li Chang'an's concealing technique was good, it was impossible to hide the moment he entered the array. He immediately revealed himself and offered a cup-fist salute. Greetings, Saintess. Li Chang'an. Zai retracted her magical treasure, a flicker of imperceptible surprise in her eyes. I actually failed to sense him approaching the flying ship. The difference in their apparent strength was immense. Theoretically, something like this should have been impossible. Zai sized him up and said, "Your concealing spell is quite good. It's nothing more than a minor trick for self-preservation, hardly worth mentioning. If I possessed the Saintess's power, what need would I have for such methods?" That's true. Zai gave a slight nod, dropping the subject. What brings you here? I heard that Taoist Zai Yun's 80th birthday is approaching, so I came to offer my congratulations. Li Chang'an explained his purpose in coming. The words had barely left his mouth when a joyful voice called out from outside the flying ship. Chapter 631, Chapter 310, Reverse slaying a middle stage, shocking everyone. Taoist Li, did you really come just for me? Zai Yun's smile was radiant. Her gentle voice drifted over the flying ship. She held out her fair hands with a grin. Taoist Li, since you're here to congratulate me, surely you didn't come without a gift. Of course I did. Li Chang'an replied with a smile, presenting his gift. The gift was a suit of Tier 3 top-grade soft armor he had personally crafted for Zai Yun. It was a delicate, beautiful piece, pale purple all over, and made from extremely precious materials. Xian fell in love with it at first sight and excitedly put it on. At the same time, she realized something. Taoist Li, has your artifact refining skill broken through to Tier 3 top grade? Thanks to the help of the Tier 3 Earthfire, I had a fortunate breakthrough not long ago. Upon hearing this, the gazes of everyone on the flying ship filled with even more shock. To have reached Tier 3 top grade in both alchemy and artifact refining was truly a sign of extraordinary talent. It took quite a while for everyone to calm down. The next day, Xian's 80th birthday officially arrived. She hadn't announced it publicly, so none of the other Golden Core influences in the southern domain came. Besides Li Chang'an, everyone celebrating with her was a cultivator from the Purple Mist sect. Li Chang'an had planned to leave after the birthday banquet. However, just as the banquet was halfway through, the spiritual ore mine below suddenly began to tremble, cracks appearing all over its surface. What's going on? The celebratory atmosphere on the flying ship instantly vanished. Everyone wore grave expression as they watched the changes in the spiritual ore mine. The cracks grew more numerous, and the tremors intensified. Suddenly, with a deafening boom, the earth caved in, creating a chasm thousands of feet deep. Immediately after, the ground around the chasm continued to collapse. When the cataclysm ended, the spiritual ore mine below was gone, leaving only a chasm tens of thousands of yards deep. The spiritual ore mine collapsed. This sudden turn of events was beyond anyone's expectations. A primitive, ancient aura, filled with the weight of ages, surged out from the depths of the chasm. Below, within the chasm, amidst the wreckage of the fallen spiritual ore mine, lay a vast expanse of well-ordered palaces and pavilions. To think there was a set of ancient sect ruins hidden beneath this spiritual ore mine. No, this aura is even older than the ancient sects. The architectural style of the palaces is different from the era of the 9 great sects. It's from a more distant age. Could it be the great Jin immortal dynasty? I can sense the aura of several treasures. As everyone was discussing this, the nearby yellow sand sect's flying ship suddenly transformed into a streak of light and charged into the ruins. Their intentions were perfectly clear. They were going to snatch the treasures. The first to enter the ruins often finds the greatest opportunities. Zai's eyes turned cold. She immediately piloted the flying ship, bringing everyone into the ruins in an instant. There are many treasures here. Everyone, feel free to search on your own. Be careful of traps and mechanisms and don't stray too far from the flying ship. Yes. Unable to contain their excitement, everyone left the flying ship and entered the ruins below. Wuxiu invited Li Chang'an. Taoist Li, how about we go treasure hunting together? Li Chang'an nodded. I was thinking the same thing. Xian chuckled. Count me in. I'll go treasure hunting with you, Taoist Li. And so, the three of them once again formed a team and entered the ruins below. Li Chang'an's objective was crystal clear. The moment he entered the ruins, he had sensed the aura of a turtle shell treasure. A Tier 4 turtle shell. A turtle shell of this tier would be a massive help to his divination skill. Without the slightest hesitation, he headed straight for the source of the Tier 4 turtle shell's aura. Just then, Li Chang'an suddenly sensed 2 hostile gazes fall upon him. He frowned and turned to look. Not far away, the Xianxia saint child, Wei Su, stood on his flying ship, staring intently at him. Beside Wei Su was another person whose aura was even stronger. This person spoke coolly. Third junior brother, is that the Li Chang'an master ordered you to kill? Why have you let him live this long? Wei Su replied, First senior brother, Li Chang'an has been under Zai's protection this whole time. I haven't had a good opportunity to act. Forget it, since I'm here today I'll help you out. I will block Zai for you. Thank you, first senior brother. A look of delight appeared on Wei Su's face. Immediately after, the two of them transformed into streaks of light and shot straight toward Li Chang'an. But before they could even get close, Zai blocked their path. She summoned a magical treasure, her tone icy. Gu Yunqi, Wei Su, where do you two think you're going? Taoist Zai, please step aside. Gu Yunqi, Wei Su's first senior brother, also summoned a magical treasure as spiritual light flashed in his hand. As Xianxia true monarch's first disciple, his talent was exceptional, and his power far surpassed that of an ordinary saint child or saintess. His standing in the yellow sand sect was similar to Zai's in the purple mist sect. Both could be called the #1 person beneath the nascent soul realm. Third junior brother, I'll hold off Zai Zai. You go kill Li Chang'an quickly. With that said, he attacked without the slightest hesitation. Wei Su, meanwhile, intended to bypass Zai Zai and take Li Chang'an's head as quickly as possible to end the conflict. However, just at that moment, a beam of spiritual light shot out from Zai Zai's storage pouch, transforming into a deep purple puppet that blocked his path. A Quasi-Tier 4 puppet. Wei Su's expression immediately turned sour. With his strength, he wouldn't be able to take down this puppet anytime soon. He had no choice but to call out to the other Yellow Sand sect cultivators. Everyone, help me kill Li Chang'an. I will reward you handsomely when it's done. All right. More than 10 golden core cultivators from the Yellow Sand sect responded in unison. They all knew killing Li Chang'an was an order from Xianxia True Monarch. If they succeeded, they would most likely receive a reward from the True Monarch himself. At this thought, the dozen or so cultivators, filled with killing intent and greed, all charged toward Li Chang'an. Taoist Li, I'll hold them off. Get back to the flying ship and use its array to fight them. Zai Yun gritted her teeth, summoned her magical treasure, and prepared to buy him some time. The other Purple Mist sect Golden Core Masters also rushed over to help. The two sides quickly fell into a chaotic battle. But the Yellow Sand sect had more cultivators. Just moments later, 2 middle stage of Golden Core cultivators broke through the blockade and charged at Li Chang'an together. Haha, Taoist Li, don't even bother resisting. We'll be borrowing your head. The two pushed their escape techniques to the limit, each trying to reach and kill Li Chang'an before the other. They wore cruel smiles, as if they could already see Li Chang'an's head flying through the air. But in the next instant, the two of them froze in unison, stopped by a large, invisible net. This is bad. Their expressions changed drastically as they summoned their sharpest magical treasures, attempting to tear the net apart. But no matter what techniques they used, they couldn't rip it. Instead, the net only grew tighter until they were completely immobilized, like lambs to the slaughter. Li Chang'an's expression was cold, his robes fluttering. His magical power surged, and the faint sound of a dragon's roar echoed around him. Mu Longteng. 2 terrifying, giant dragons made of green wood appeared. Fierce, domineering, and unstoppable, they seemed like true Tier 3 members of the dragon race as they violently slammed into the 2 golden core cultivators from the Yellow Sand sect. Boom! With horrified screams, the 2 of them exploded on the spot, dissolving into a shower of blood that rained down on the land. In that instant, the entire ruins fell silent. Chapter 632, Chapter 311, Past of Ascension, Nascent Soul Opportunity. The 2 of them had died a gruesome death. Fragments of blood and bone scattered throughout the ruins. Even their golden cores had been shattered. Come! Li Chang'an raised a hand, and their storage pouches flew to him. At this moment, the aura he radiated was still only that of the early stage of golden core. But he had long since entered the borrowed state, his magical power reaching the level of the middle stage. As a cultivator with an immortal golden core, even killing a late stage of golden core cultivator would be a simple task. Killing those 2 posed no difficulty for him whatsoever. It was hardly more difficult than crushing 2 ants. These 2 had quite a lot of treasure in their storage pouches, as expected of golden core cultivators from a nascent soul major sect. Li Chang'an casually inspected the storage pouches and took stock of the treasures within, as if no one else was there. The entire ruins fell silent. Everyone's gaze was fixed on him. Taoist Li was hiding this much power. Zai Yun stared at him blankly, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. Just a moment ago, she had been frantic with worry, afraid Li Chang'an would be killed by those 2. But in the blink of an eye, they were dead at his hands. Wu Xiuo and the others were also in disbelief. They all knew Li Chang'an's immortal Dao skills were impressive, but strong skills didn't necessarily mean strong combat prowess. Originally, they thought that even if Li Chang'an had some fortuitous encounters, he was at best a standout among early-stage golden core cultivators. Fighting above 1 stage was incredibly difficult. Even golden core cultivators from nascent soul major sects struggled to do so, let alone a loose cultivator like Li Chang'an. To think I've been underestimating Taoist Li all this time. To kill middle-stage golden core cultivators with an early-stage golden core cultivation. With that kind of power, he'd be called a genius even in the Purple Mist sect. The gazes of the many purple mist sect golden core masters on Li Chang'an changed once again. At first, they had only respected his alchemy and artifact refining skills. But now, Li Chang'an's own power was enough to earn their respect. If Taoist Li breaks through to the middle stage of golden core, wouldn't he be able to kill late-stage cultivators? It's a pity his spiritual root talent is lacking. His path to breaking through will likely be extremely difficult. That purple spirit pill, supplemented by some other precious treasures, should be able to help him forcibly break through the bottleneck to the middle stage of golden core. But it would damage his potential, making it almost impossible to break through to the late stage later. Wu Xiuo and the others used sound transmission to secretly discuss the limits of Li Chang'an's cultivation. Meanwhile, they all remained on guard against the numerous golden core masters from the Yellow Sand sect. The previous scene had been so shocking that both sides had temporarily ceased fighting. At this moment, the many golden core masters from the Yellow Sand sect wore expressions of shock and fear, mixed with a hint of lingering dread. Most of them only had early-stage golden core cultivation, even weaker than the two cultivators who had been killed. Had it been them facing Li Chang'an, they too would have met certain death. Thank goodness Wu Xiuo blocked me, so I couldn't get to Li Chang'an. And I was blocked by that Zai Yun. They exchanged glances, their hearts still pounding with fear. If they hadn't been stopped, their current situation would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, these Yellow Sand sect golden core masters all retreated, putting a great distance between them and Li Chang'an, having given up any ideas about him. Among them, even two late-stage of golden core cultivators reigned in their killing intent and greed. Taoist way that Li Chang'an's strength is far greater than we anticipated. We are powerless today. Please forgive us. The two of them sent sound transmissions to Wei Su, stating they would no longer involve themselves in this matter. Wei Su's expression turned grim. Li Chang'an's strength had not only exceeded their expectations, but his own judgment as well. He had originally thought that if they faced each other head-on, he could kill Li Chang'an in a single move. But now it seemed one move wouldn't be enough. It might take over 10 moves, or even force him to use some of his trump cards. He looked at Gu Yunqi and asked, "Senior brother, can you hold off this Quasite Ear 4 puppet again? Just give me a chance to face Li Chang'an alone, and I can definitely kill him. The timing isn't right today, let's retreat." Gu Yunqi shook his head slightly, rejecting Wei Su's request. Wei Su was unwilling to give up. "Senior brother, if we just use some of our trump cards." "You and I have trump cards, but so does Zai Zai." Gu Yunqi cut him off. "If we keep fighting, the outcome is uncertain. Besides, this is a secret realm in the southern domain. We'll let Li Chang'an go for today. Let's focus on finding opportunities in these ruins first. When the time is right in the future, I will help you kill him." "Fine then." Wei Su had no choice but to give up. Without Gu Yunqi's help, it would be impossible for him to take Li Chang'an's life while he was under Zai Zai's protection. He looked back at Li Chang'an, making no attempt to hide his killing intent, and his icy voice rang out. "Li Chang'an, I'll spare your life for today." With that, he disengaged from the Quasite Ear 4 puppet and transformed into a streak of light, flying into the distance. Gu Yunqi also broke free from Zai Zai's magical treasure, and without a word, headed off into the distance to search for opportunities. With the two of them gone, the numerous golden core masters from the Yellow Sand sect quickly followed suit. The battle that had erupted so suddenly ended just as abruptly. Zai Zai didn't give chase. She raised a hand to recall her magical treasure, her gaze falling on Li Chang'an, a trace of surprise in her heart. She had long suspected that Li Chang'an was hiding some of his strength. After all, any loose cultivator who managed to achieve core formation with a low-grade spirit root was bound to have had some significant opportunities. But the strength Li Chang'an had revealed in this battle was even greater than she had guessed. Achieving core formation with a low-grade spirit root, truly impressive. Zai Zai transformed into a streak of light and landed in front of Li Chang'an. At the same time, Zai Yun, Wu Xiuo, and the others all gathered around. They were all curious as to how Li Chang'an was able to kill enemies of a higher stage, but that was ultimately his personal secret. Chapter 633, Chapter 311, Ascension's Past, Nascent Soul Opportunity. If Li Chang'an didn't bring it up, they couldn't very well ask. Li Chang'an saw their confusion and smiled. "You must all be wondering how I managed to kill those two, right?" Zai Yun immediately nodded, her pretty face filled with curiosity. Taoist Li, the quality of your core formation is only a mid-grade true pill, not an immortal or half-step immortal golden core. By all rights, it should be very difficult for you to fight above your level. Was the magic you just used particularly unique? No, it was just a normal celestial grade magic. As he spoke, Li Chang'an used a spell to alter his aura, allowing a hint of weakness to emanate from him. Sensing this weakness, understanding dawned on the others. Wu Xiu asked, Taoist Li, did you use an elixir pill that forcibly draws out one's potential? That's right. So that's how it is. This was an explanation they could all accept. Li Chang'an was a Tier 3 top-grade alchemist after all. He might have mastered some powerful ancient pill formulas. Certain elixir pills could forcibly draw out one's potential, allowing them to unleash terrifying power for a short time. However, after that burst of power, it would damage their potential and affect their future cultivation path. For a genius expected to reach nascent soul formation, such an elixir pill was out of the question. But Li Chang'an only had a low-grade spirit root, so it didn't matter if his potential was damaged. The middle stage of golden core was his limit anyway. Li Chang'an smiled. I may have seemed unharmed earlier, but I was just putting on a brave face to intimidate Wei Su and the others, forcing them to retreat. Haha, truly impressive, Taoist Li. If Wei Su ever learned the truth, he'd be absolutely fuming. Believing they understood the truth, everyone smiled. Zai Zai lightly raised her jade-like hand, and a pure white elixir pill materialized in her palm. A moment later, the pill floated over to Li Chang'an, exuding a rich pill fragrance. Taoist Li, this is a jade mushroom pill. It can help restore some of your damaged potential. Please take it. Thank you, Saintess. Li Chang'an didn't refuse and accepted it at once. He had long heard of the famous jade mushroom pill. The pill formula for this elixir was also exclusive to the Purple Mist sect. It could indeed restore some of one's potential, making it even more precious than the purple spirit pill. A single jade mushroom pill once appeared at an auction in the central domain, selling for the astronomical price of 300,000 middle-grade spirit stones. This showed just how generous Zai Zai was being. Of course, for an insider like her, the jade mushroom pill was likely not that expensive, probably just a little more than the cost to produce it. After resting for a moment, the group scattered once more, treasure hunting within the vast ruins. This time, the members of the Yellow Sand sect did not come to interfere. They were on the other side of the ruins, keeping a great distance from the Purple Mist sect group and minding their own business. Li Chang'an, along with Zai Yun and Wu Xiu, headed toward the place where he had sensed the Tier 4 turtle shell. It was a majestic white jade palace. The three of them landed in front of the palace. The main hall alone was hundreds of feet tall, making the three of them look as tiny as ants. Could this place be the residence of a divination master? They all noticed that the white jade pillars supporting the palace were carved with all sorts of celestial phenomena. Typically, only cultivators who practice divination skills would observe celestial phenomena to predict good and bad fortune. The three entered the palace to explore. Deep inside the palace, in the dark and silent depths, a low jade table came into view. On the jade table lay the very Tier 4 turtle shell that Li Chang'an had sensed. The turtle shell was a pure jade-like white and exuded a mysterious aura. Its surface was covered with innumerable, complex spirit patterns. A single glance at it was enough to make Wu Xiu and Zai Yun feel dazzled, even causing them a moment of dizziness. Li Chang'an asked, "This item is useful to me. Would you two mind if I took it?" "Go ahead and take it, Taoist Li. I can't make heads or tails of it, so it's useless to me." Neither of them had any objections. They could both sense that this turtle shell was of a very high tier. If it had been useless to Li Chang'an, they might have vied for it. Even if they couldn't use it themselves, they could have traded it for other treasures. But since Li Chang'an had a use for it, that was a different matter entirely. Their gazes shifted from the turtle shell to a yellow jade scroll lying beside it. What could be inside this jade scroll? Could it be a divination legacy? To be on the safe side, Zai Yun didn't touch it directly, instead using a puppet to pick it up. A moment later, a look of surprise crossed her face. "It's not a legacy, just a few words." "What do they say?" "You'll know once you hear it, Taoist Wu." She handed the jade scroll to Wu Xiu. Soon, a look of astonishment also appeared on Wu Xiu's face. So this place really is a palace of the great Jin immortal dynasty. With that, he handed the jade scroll to Li Chang'an. Li Chang'an took the jade scroll and extended his divine sense into it, soon hearing an aged voice. His Majesty summoned us to discuss a matter. He said he has found a path to ascension and wishes for the entire dynasty to ascend, ordering us to make preparations. But how could ascension be so easy? My mind is unsettled. I performed a divination for the great Jinn, but the result was pure chaos. This ascension, will it truly lead us to the immortal realm, that immortal realm? It seems it doesn't even exist. There were only those few short sentences. It must have been left by a Tier 4 divination grandmaster from the great Jinn immortal dynasty. His words were filled with worry, a clear sign that he was not optimistic about the great Jinn immortal dynasty's attempt at a nationwide ascension. Li Chang'an lowered the jade scroll and looked out of the palace, his gaze fixed on the deep, tranquil sky, lost in thought. Is there really an immortal realm? There should be. Xianxia spoke slowly, her voice gentle. The two words immortal realm appear in many incomplete ancient records, but none of them specify where it is. As for whether the great Jinn immortal dynasty truly ascended, no one knows. Chapter 634, Chapter 311, The Story of Ascension, a Nascent Soul Opportunity. As for the matter of ascension, they all hoped the great Jinn immortal dynasty would succeed. If it succeeded, it would prove that the immortal realm truly existed and that a path to ascension was real. Afterward, the three continued to explore the other side halls of the palace. Li Chang'an obtained several more treasures related to divination, while Wu Xiu and Zai Yun also made considerable gains. After they finished exploring the area, the other two were about to head elsewhere to explore. Li Chang'an paused for a moment. With a wave of his hand, he uprooted the entire white jade palace and stored it in his storage pouch. Seeing this, the other two were dumbfounded. Taoist Li, the white jade used to build this palace is just an ordinary Tier 1 treasure. It doesn't have much value. We're already here, might as well take it. Li Chang'an smiled. Even a mosquito's leg is still meat, nothing should be wasted. Besides, the celestial phenomena carved on the jade pillars in the main hall had given him some inspiration. Each pillar could be considered a decent treasure in its own right. After this, Li Chang'an and the other two continued their search in other areas, finding quite a few more things, but none of them could compare to the Tier 4 turtle shell. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. On this day, the three of them arrived at the central region of the ruins. Here stood a majestic palace, towering several thousand meters high, resembling a colossal beast prostrating itself upon the earth. Zai and the other Golden Core masters had already gathered before the palace, but had not entered. Not far away on the other side, Gu Yunqi, Wei Su, and the others from the Yellow Sand sect had also gathered before the palace. This palace holds quite a few treasures. Standing before the palace, Li Chang'an briefly extended his senses and detected the auras of numerous treasures. The reason both sides hadn't entered the palace to snatch the treasures wasn't that they were wary of each other, but because the palace itself was rather strange. The inside of the grand hall seemed to be shrouded from the outside world by a thin veil. The scene within was blurry and hazy. It was impossible to see clearly. One could only faintly make out multicolored glows of light, the enticing auras of treasures, bobbing up and down inside the hall. I spirit Jade. Zai's eyes were clear as she gazed at the main hall and slowly uttered 3 words. The next moment, Gu Yunqi, who was not far away, also spoke up. Indeed, I too have sensed the aura of I spirit Jade. Hearing this, a fiery passion ignited in everyone's eyes. I spirit Jade, a Tier 4 treasure, had the effect of calming the heart and pacifying the mind. It could instantly suppress all distracting thoughts, making it extremely effective when used during nascent soul formation. According to legend, Xianxia, true monarch of the Purple Mist sect, had used Ice Spirit Jade during their nascent soul formation. In other words, this treasure was an opportunity for reaching the nascent soul realm. However, no one made a rash move. The interior of the main hall was too strange. It seemed to be covered by an array, yet there was no trace of an array's aura. It remained blurry and indistinct, impossible to see clearly. Let's test it with puppets first. Everyone had brought quite a few puppets with them, and they all began to control them to enter the hall. However, the moment the puppets went inside, their masters lost control of them. Even the Tier 3 puppets were no exception. How strange. What kind of power is protecting the treasures in this hall? Puppets and other mechanical creations are useless. My shadowplay paper figures are also useless. Must we go in ourselves to test it? Don't be hasty. Let's have the spirit beasts tested first. Everyone took out their spirit beasts from their spirit beast bags. There were both Tier 1 and Tier 2 spirit beasts. There were even 2 Tier 3 spirit beasts. These 2 Tier 3 spirit beasts held a high status. Their masters didn't force them, but merely asked for their opinions. A moment later, the 2 Tier 3 spirit beasts, along with many low-tier spirit beasts, entered the main hall. But the instant they went in, the connection between them and the people outside was severed. Even the cultivators who had signed spirit contracts with them could no longer sense their condition. After a good while, one of the Tier 3 spirit beasts finally walked out. Well, what's it like in there? Did you manage to get any treasure? The spirit beast's master immediately stepped forward to ask. But the spirit beast looked completely bewildered. It shook its head and glanced at the hall behind it. Didn't I just go in? How did I come out already? He had no memory of what happened after he went inside. He only remembered stepping in, and in the next instant, stepping back out, as if the time in between had been completely erased. Hearing his account, everyone grew even more astonished. Just what kind of power is protecting this hall? Before long, the other spirit beasts also walked out of the hall one after another. Their condition was similar to that of the Tier 3 spirit beast. None of them had much memory of what happened. These spirit beasts can't remember clearly, but they all came out alive. If we go in, we should also be able to come out alive. The crowd spoke up, making their judgments. They gazed at the blurry, hazy glow of the treasures within the hall, all feeling tempted. But instead of going in themselves, they released numerous servants from their spirit beast bags. It was normal for golden core masters to have servants. Some followed them willingly, while others had been forced to sign a servant spirit contract to save their own lives. Even Wu Xiu had quite a few. He said to one of the Foundation establishment peak cultivators, "Go inside. If you can bring out a single treasure for me, I will grant you your freedom." All right. Without the slightest hesitation, the Foundation establishment cultivator transformed into a streak of light and rushed inside. Not long after, he rushed out of the main hall, his face beaming with joy. "Haha, treasure, I got a treasure." Everyone turned to look. Wu Xiu hurriedly asked, "What treasure is it?" "It's, where's the treasure? I clearly had it in my hand, how is it gone?" The man stared at his empty hands, his face filled with astonishment. He didn't have time to think, immediately returning to the main hall. After a while, he rushed out again, his right hand held high as if he were holding some kind of treasure. But his hand was still empty. It wasn't just him. Many of the servants began to show similar symptoms. Some servants had hazy memories, while others believed they had obtained a treasure, yet not a single one was ever brought out. "I clearly saw the treasure and even took it in my hand. Why is it gone?" Unwilling to give up, many servants entered again and again, only to be met with disappointment each time. Chapter 635. Chapter 312. Top-grade treasure and ultimate life-saving treasure. Could it be that the treasures in this palace are nothing more than an illusion? Everyone looked at each other, their eyes filled with confusion. The aura of the treasures felt real, so why couldn't anyone retrieve them? Was it some kind of array protecting this hall, or another strange power? "Forget it, I'll go try myself." Wu Xiu took a deep breath, having made his decision. Since so many servants and spirit beasts had returned alive, he probably wouldn't be in any real danger either. He handed his storage pouch to Li Chang'an and said with gravity, "Taoist Li, if something happens to me, I'll have to trouble you to pass this storage pouch on to my descendants." "All right." Li Chang'an didn't say much more and accepted the storage pouch. After a brief period of observation, he had already seen through the mystery of the hall. There was no array inside the hall. The reason no one could obtain the treasures was due to a Tier 4 divination technique, confusing profound mechanism. This technique was particularly bizarre. In an area enveloped by this kind of divination power, everything was chaotic. Some treasures appeared real but were actually fake. They seemed close at hand but could be 1,000 miles away. You might seem to be moving forward when you were actually retreating. True and false were indistinguishable. Everything was jumbled and inverted. and nothing was clear. Forget about golden core masters. Even a nascent soul true monarch would fall for it if they entered. Although Li Chang'an's divination skill hadn't reached Tier 4, it wasn't far off. It could be considered quasi-Tier 4, and he was already familiar with the various strange techniques of Tier 4 divination. He knew very well that entering wouldn't be fatal. At worst, one would just be confused for a while. Don't worry, Taoist Wu. I can see your fortune is flourishing, you won't perish here. That may be so, but accidents can happen. Wu Shuo calmed his mind and slowly stepped inside. As the first golden core master to enter the hall, he instantly captured everyone's attention. Even the members of the Yellow Sand sect, who were not far away, turned their gazes toward him. Taoist Wu's strength is considerable. Perhaps he has a chance to get a treasure. Everyone, don't be hasty. Let's wait for Taoist Wu to come out first. No one made any more probing attempts. They all stood outside the hall, waiting quietly. About a quarter of an hour later, Wu Shuo's figure reappeared outside the hall. His head was lowered, staring at his hands, but they were completely empty. Just as I thought, I clearly obtained a treasure, but as soon as I walked out of the hall, it vanished. Taoist Wu, did you really get a treasure? You weren't deceived by an illusion. Everyone crowded forward, asking about Wu Shuo's experience. Wu Shuo didn't hide anything, and recounted what he had seen and heard in detail. After entering the hall, he saw dozens of treasures shrouded in hazy, precious light, many of which exuded a Tier 4 aura. He originally planned to take all the treasures, but they seemed to possess spiritual energy, actively avoiding him. He managed to grab one, only after great difficulty. It was a piece of Tier 4 artifact refining material. I clearly sealed it with my magical power. Looking at his empty hands, Wu Shuo sighed. Zai Yun asked, Taoist Wu, did you try to put the treasure into your storage pouch? Of course I tried, but it wouldn't go in. After a round of questioning, everyone no longer hesitated and entered the hall one after another. But their experiences were all similar to Wu Shuo's. None of them managed to bring out a single treasure. Not far away, the same thing was happening with the Yellow Sand sect. Sai, there's clearly a nascent soul opportunity in there, but all we can do is watch. What everyone wanted most, of course, was the ice spirit Jade. But not one of them succeeded. Eventually, even Zai Zai, Gu Yunqi, and Wei Su went inside to try. All three were celestial prides. The quality of their core formation was, at worst, a half-step immortal golden core, and their techniques and strength far surpassed those of ordinary golden core masters. Their target was also the ice spirit Jade. However, it wasn't long before all three failed. They came away with nothing. This place is truly strange. Zai Zai stood outside the hall, her expression calm and thoughtful. A moment later, a spiritual light flashed in her hand, and a Tier 4 talisman appeared. The talisman burst with golden light as its golden pattern slowly burned. It floated above her head, releasing the pressure of Tier 4. Carrying the talisman, she entered the hall once more. Gu Yunqi and Wei Su also used their own methods and re-entered the hall, attempting to retrieve the ice spirit Jade. Will they succeed this time? Everyone waited outside, filled with doubt. About a quarter of an hour later, the three of them appeared one after another, still without any treasure. Everyone couldn't help but feel disappointed. If even figures like the Saintess and Saint Child couldn't obtain the opportunity, then they likely had no hope either. Zai Zai said, this place won't harm anyone. Everyone feel free to try your own methods. With that said, she shot into the sky. Her purple skirt fluttered as she looked down upon the entire palace from above, seeming to want to discern its secrets. Gu Yunqi and Wei Su also stopped trying, and like Zai Zai, began to search for a way to break the puzzle. The others went their separate ways. Some went treasure hunting elsewhere, while others continued to try their luck. A moment later, Li Chang'an made his move. He walked to the entrance, slowly stepped into the hall, and disappeared from everyone's sight. Taoist Li will most likely return empty-handed as well. This place is truly bizarre. Taoist Li's alchemy Dao and artifact refining skill are useless here. No one was optimistic about Li Chang'an's chances. If even Zai Zai failed, what could he possibly do? Little did they know, Li Chang'an had already seen through part of the mystery of this place. After he entered, what appeared before him was a vast hall thousands of feet high. Dozens of treasures, shrouded in hazy, precious light, flew about within the hall. The ice spirit Jade. Li Chang'an's eyes narrowed, and he quickly locked onto that nascent soul opportunity. However, he did not act immediately. Chapter 636, Chapter 312, Top-Tier Treasure, a Supreme Life-Saving Treasure. The power of divination permeated the entire area. Without knowing how to bypass it, retrieving any treasure would be impossible. With a thought, Li Chang'an retrieved the Tier 4 turtle shell and had it hover above his head. He then used his divination skill to control it. A moment later, wisps of a mysterious aura began to emanate from the turtle shell. Li Chang'an stood still, sensing the aura for a moment. His expression grew grave. It's not just confusing profound mechanism. There are other techniques at play, like heaven and earth shifting and viewing flowers in the mirror. I might only have one chance. A realization dawned on him. Once he took one of the treasures, he would be ejected from the Grand Hall immediately, with no chance to claim a second. For that very reason, he had to be extremely careful when choosing his treasure. I can't let myself be blinded by what's right in front of me. There might be an even better treasure. Li Chang'an averted his gaze, tearing his eyes away from the ice spirit Jade. He closed his eyes, reined in his divine sense, and used the power of divination to perform a divination for himself. A moment later, he felt a premonition. Deep within the Grand Hall lay a treasure that was even more suitable for him. What kind of treasure could it be? Li Chang'an opened his eyes, a flicker of doubt in his gaze as he peered into the depths of the Grand Hall. The thing he craved most right now was reaching nascent soul formation. As far as he was concerned, what treasure could be greater than an opportunity to reach the nascent soul realm? Filled with this doubt, he began to walk, moving slowly and cautiously deeper into the Grand Hall. The depths of the Grand Hall were dark and silent. There was no gleam of treasure, nor any aura of one. There was only a jade platform crafted from a verdant jade treasure. On the platform sat a seemingly ordinary jade box. Could this be it? Li Chang'an cautiously projected a thread of magical power to open the jade box. Inside the jade box lay a talisman and a jade scroll. The talisman's aura was astonishing, far surpassing any other talisman Li Chang'an had ever seen in his life. Even the Tier 4 talisman that Zai had previously used couldn't compare. Could it be a Tier 5 talisman? At this thought, even someone with Li Chang'an's composure couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. Tier 5 treasures were typically the exclusive domain of divinity transformation celestial monarchs. He focused his concentration, observing the talisman intently for a long time without touching it directly. The spirit patterns on the talisman were densely packed and incredibly complex, far beyond his current level of talisman art. He couldn't make heads or tails of them. After quite some time, Li Chang'an had no choice but to give up and turn his attention to the Jade Scroll. Perhaps the Jade Scroll contains a description of this talisman. He carefully sent a wisp of his divine sense into the Jade Scroll. The next instant, he heard an ancient voice. This talisman is called the Realm-Sundering Talisman. As its name suggests, this talisman can be used to tear open the void of this realm, allowing you to instantly travel tens of thousands of miles away. This life-saving treasure of the highest order can only be used 5 times. Do not waste them. Li Chang'an was inwardly shaken. Tear open the void. Even a nascent soul powerhouse couldn't perform such a feat. If the message in the scroll isn't a lie, then this talisman is truly a supreme life-saving treasure. No wonder I had a premonition that this treasure was more suitable for me. Realization dawned on Li Chang'an. For him, a means of saving his own life was indeed more important than an opportunity to reach the nascent soul realm. This talisman could allow him to survive an encounter with a nascent soul true monarch. If he ever encountered a hostile nascent soul true monarch, he could simply activate the talisman, tear open the void to escape, and shake off any pursuit. This talisman's tier is at least Tier 5. It's a shame it only has 5 uses, and there's no guarantee of safety. I'll have to test it once to see if it's reliable. If it works safely, I'll have 4 chances to escape with my life. Li Chang'an took a deep breath, suppressing his excitement, and carefully placed the talisman along with the jade box into his storage pouch. At that exact moment, he suddenly felt a powerful force of repulsion. The entire Grand Hall seemed to come alive, treating him like an intruder it wanted to expel immediately. There's still a chance. Sensing a sliver of an opening, Li Chang'an resisted the power of divination within the hall with all his might. In the split second before he was ejected, he shot out a blast of magical power, grabbed the ice spirit Jade, and pulled it into his storage pouch. The next instant, his vision went black. Boom! A tremendous force struck him, sending him flying out of the hall. Chang'an was flung backward, landing heavily outside the grand hall. Everyone stared in astonishment at the scene. They had all entered the grand hall before, but none of them had been thrown out. All of them had walked out completely unscathed. Why was Chang'an's experience so different? Just then, Wei Su suddenly cried out, "The aura of the ice spirit Jade is gone." Hearing this, everyone was startled and quickly tried to sense the auras of the treasures. Just as Wei Su had said, the ice spirit Jade's aura had vanished, while the auras of the other treasures remained. Could it be that? They all turned to look at Chang'an in unison, their eyes filled with disbelief. Was he thrown out because he had taken the ice spirit Jade? Zai secretly sent a sound transmission. "Taoist Li, is the ice spirit Jade in your possession?" "It is." Chang'an didn't deny it. His situation was so unusual that few would have believed him, even if he had denied it. Zai asked again, "How large is the ice spirit Jade?" Chang'an replied, "About the size of a human head. Breaking through to the nascent soul realm only requires a fist-sized piece of ice spirit Jade. The one you have is enough for several people." Zai's tone was steady, but inwardly she could barely contain her shock. After all, even she had failed. She simply couldn't comprehend how Chang'an had succeeded. "Taoist Li, this ice spirit Jade is far too valuable for you to keep on your own. You should present it to me in front of everyone. I will bear the risks on your behalf. I only require half of it. The other half will still be yours." Chapter 637, Chapter 312, Top-Tier Treasure, the Ultimate Escape Treasure. "All right." Chang'an didn't hesitate in the slightest. A flash of spiritual light appeared in his hand, revealing a jade treasure that was translucent and emanated a frosty aura. It was the ice spirit Jade. At the sight of this jade treasure, everyone's eyes widened in astonishment. Even the many golden core masters of the Purple Mist sect felt a surge of greed. The members of the Yellow Sand sect nearby were even more restless. Magical power surged around them as they stared intently at the jade treasure in Chang'an's hand, looking as if they were about to snatch it away. However, because Chang'an's performance in the previous battle had been so astonishing, they temporarily suppressed their greed. Chang'an walked straight up to Zai and presented the ice spirit Jade. "Saintess, my aptitude is mediocre, and I have no hope of reaching nascent soul formation. This ice spirit Jade is useless to me. You have taken great care of me, and I have no way to repay you. Please accept it." A thoughtful gesture. Zai gave a slight nod and accepted the ice spirit Jade. Their prior discussion had been conducted via secret sound transmission, so outsiders were unaware. In everyone else's eyes, Chang'an was simply presenting a treasure in exchange for Zai's continued protection. Seeing this, the members of the Yellow Sand sect reluctantly gave up on the idea of seizing the treasure. After all, they couldn't possibly snatch a treasure from Zai's hands. Not even Gu Yunqi and Wei Su could take it from her, let alone ordinary golden core masters like them. That Chang'an is clever, knowing he couldn't hold on to that treasure. And the ice spirit Jade is indeed useless to him. And just like that, the pressure brought by the ice spirit Jade was shifted onto Zai. Her strength and status were more than enough to bear that pressure. However, everyone still had their doubts. Zai Yun asked impatiently, "Taoist Li, how were you able to obtain the treasure? Is there some trick to it? Can you get another one?" Upon hearing this, everyone pricked up their ears. This was a question everyone present wanted to know the answer to. Chang'an smiled and replied, "There's no special trick. After I went in, I tested each of the treasures one by one. I felt that this ice spirit Jade and I were fated to be together, so I took it." Fated? Upon hearing his explanation, everyone came to a sudden realization. So it was a matter of destiny. The reason they couldn't obtain any treasures was because their own destiny was insufficient. As a loose cultivator with a low-grade spirit root, Chang'an must possess incredibly strong fortune to have encountered so many opportunities. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to reach the core formation stage. Wuxiu sighed with sincere admiration. "Taoist Li, I'm truly in awe of your fortune." Indeed, Taoist Li is truly worthy of his reputation as a cultivator who reached core formation with a low-grade spirit root. I'm also full of admiration. One after another, the crowd spoke up to praise Li Chang'an's fortune, showing their intent to build a deeper connection with him. According to rumor, if one spent a long time with a person of great fortune, their own fortune would also improve. Just then the palace suddenly trembled. Crack! A shocking crack appeared on the palace's surface. Immediately after, hundreds, even thousands, of cracks appeared one after another. Oh no, the palace is about to collapse. With astonished expressions, everyone quickly retreated. They backed away to a safe distance, watching the palace with a hint of anticipation in their eyes. Would the bizarre power within disappear after the palace collapsed? Would they be able to get more treasures? Just as they were thinking this, they were suddenly shocked to see a rift appear inside the palace. Globes of hazy, precious light flew into the rift one by one and vanished. What's going on? Before they could figure it out, the entire palace collapsed with a deafening boom. Everyone hurriedly flew forward and used their magical power to clear away the palace ruins, trying to find even a single treasure, but they came up empty-handed. All the treasures had flown into that rift before the palace collapsed. Damn it, what was that rift? Some were furious, others were filled with regret. They had been planning to change their approach and go inside to test their own destiny. But now the chance was gone forever. Forget it, let's go look for opportunities elsewhere. After a fruitless search, everyone had no choice but to give up. Li Chang'an, however, planned to return to Chang'an Mountain. Nearly all areas here had been explored, and few opportunities remained. He pinched his fingers together in a quick calculation and had a premonition that even if he stayed, he wouldn't find many more treasures. It would just be a waste of time. Before long, he informed Zai and the others of his intention to leave. This time, he didn't need Zai to escort him. He only needed to use a concealing spell to avoid the detection of Gu Yunqi and Wei Su. Before he left, Zai called him onto her flying ship and quietly gave him half of the ice spirit Jade. This portion of the ice spirit Jade was enough for him to use for his future nascent soul formation. Of course, in Zai's view, Li Chang'an would never be able to reach the nascent soul formation stage. He could only leave it for his descendants. This ice spirit Jade is of great benefit to me, and my previous promise still stands. Once I successfully achieve nascent soul formation, I will do my best to resolve the conflict between you and Xianxia True Monarch. If Xianxia True Monarch does not agree, I will protect you for the rest of your life. Thank you, Saintess. No need to thank me. Consider this payment for the ice spirit Jade. Afterward, Zai and Li Chang'an signed a procurement spirit contract. From then on, Li Chang'an would be required to provide a batch of Tier 3 elixir pills and magical treasures to Zai or the Purple Mist sect at regular intervals. He had, in effect, gained a stable sales channel. After signing the spirit contract, Li Chang'an lingered no longer and departed quietly. A few days later, he returned to Chang'an Mountain and took out the realm-sundering talisman. Let's see just how effective this thing is. To be safe, Li Chang'an did not test it with his main body. He had his blood-dripping incarnation hold the talisman, face south, and activate it. In the next instant, an astonishing power enveloped his blood-dripping incarnation, instantly tore through space, and vanished from Chang'an Mountain. In the blink of an eye, the blood-dripping incarnation appeared deep within the Black Dragon Mountain range to the south. Moreover, the blood-dripping incarnation was completely unharmed, having suffered no damage whatsoever. What a fantastic treasure! A look of delight spread across Li Chang'an's face. The item's effect was exactly as described in the Jade Scroll. He looked at the talisman and saw that the spirit patterns on it had dimmed considerably. There are still 4 uses left. I can't waste them. With this treasure, his confidence in dealing with Liu Feiyan grew even greater. Even if Xianxia True Monarch came to kill him, he could use this treasure to escape. After plotting for so many years, it's finally time to make a move against that Liu Feiyan. Over the past few years, Li Chang'an had managed to gain control over all the Golden Core Masters of Mandarin Duck Valley, with the sole exception of Liu Feiyan. He had also taken control of more than half of the Golden Core Masters from the 100 Beast sect. In the days that followed, Li Chang'an continuously fanned the flames of conflict between the two sects, causing their Golden Core Masters to fight and kill each other. Within a short month, several golden core masters had fallen, and the entire western domain was shaken by the bloody slaughter. Finally, Liu Feiyan could no longer sit back and do nothing. She took the initiative to propose peace talks with the 100 Beast sect. Just as they had years ago, they would discuss the terms of the truce in the neutral territory between the two sects' domains. Liu Feiyan's expression was cold as she drafted the spirit contract for the peace talks. Once this is over, I'll deal with Li Chang'an no matter the cost. That brat has lived for far too long. Chapter 638, Chapter 313, Slaying Liu Feiyan, Sacking Mandarin Duck Valley. Liu Feiyan's killing intent toward Li Chang'an had never once waned. For many years now, every time Mandarin Duck Valley held an internal meeting, she would make a point of bringing up how to deal with Li Chang'an. She would even mention it during critical moments of the war between the two sects. She was determined to end the war between the sects quickly, so she could concentrate their forces on dealing with Li Chang'an. To that end, she was even willing to have Mandarin Duck Valley compromise with the 100 Beast sect and cede some of their interests. What do you all think of this spirit contract for the peace talks? Liu Feiyan finished drafting the spirit contract and used her magical power to send it to the center of the secret room. A golden light flickered over the contract as characters materialized one by one. Soon, the other Mandarin Duck Valley Golden Core Masters in the secret room began to speak up, offering their opinions. Although the opinions of these dozen or so Golden Core Masters seemed to vary, they were, in fact, all under Li Chang'an's control. Through them, Li Chang'an continuously proposed opinions, stalling for time. Before they knew it, it was late at night. A golden light materialized before his eyes. The divination has been refreshed. Today's divination Auspicious. You will lure Liu Feiyan out of Mandarin Duck Valley, successfully kill her, and obtain the ancient wood cave mansion key. An auspicious trigram looks like this is a sure thing. Li Chang'an's heart was put at ease as he read the divination's contents. His many years of planning had not been in vain. A moment later, the many puppets under his control all agreed to the spirit contract. The discussion came to an end. He had Fan Wenlong propose, Taoist Liu, although we are amenable to peace talks, I fear the 100 Beast sect may be setting a trap. Why don't we go to the negotiation site ahead of time and make some arrangements? Good, that's exactly what I was thinking. Liu Feiyan agreed at once and put away the spirit contract for the peace talks. About a quarter of an hour later, she and a dozen or so Mandarin Duck Valley Golden Core Masters quietly left Mandarin Duck Valley, heading for the site of the peace talks. Only 3 Golden Core Masters and 2 Demon Kings remained to guard Mandarin Duck Valley. I've already contacted the 100 Beast Elder. The 100 Beast sect is also unwilling to fight any longer, so these peace talks should go smoothly. Halfway there, Liu Feiyan began to discuss some points of caution for the upcoming negotiations. As she spoke, she turned her head to look in the direction of the southern domain. Huang Sha's disciples refused to work for me. In that case, I'll just unite the forces of the entire western domain, invade deep into the heart of the southern domain, and forcibly breach that Li Chang'an's Chang'an mountain. I refuse to believe he can. Before she could finish her sentence, disaster struck from right beside her. The dozen or so Golden Core Masters at her side suddenly attacked in unison. In an instant, countless streams of astonishing killing intent converged into a great net, trapping her like prey. Li Chang'an had plotted for many years for this operation, and his preparations were far more thorough than when he had dealt with Shihu Master. At that moment, the dozen or so Golden Core Masters under his control all swallowed elixir pills that would forcibly extract their latent potential. They began to frantically burn their own lifespans, doing everything in their power to unleash their strongest possible attack. Boom! A dozen or so terrifying attacks slammed into Liu Feiyan in an instant. She didn't have time to react. She was still lost in thought about how to deal with Li Chang'an, when her body was overwhelmed by a torrent of horrifying magical treasures and magical power. In the blink of an eye, her limbs exploded into clouds of blood mist. Yet her chest was merely caved in, and her head remained completely unharmed, protected by a radiant, iridescent treasure. To think she blocked it. This result was slightly beyond Li Chang'an's expectations. After all, among the dozen or so Golden Core Masters in the ambush, 2 had cultivation on par with Liu Feiyan's. They were also late Golden Core stage cultivators. An ordinary late Golden Core stage cultivator would have been utterly unable to withstand a surprise attack from these two while they were burning their lifespans and forcibly extracting their potential. Chang'an immediately commanded the evil soul, netherworld evil domain. It's locked down tight. Rest easy, old master, this old hag isn't getting away. The evil soul, hidden in the shadows, did its utmost to maintain the netherworld evil domain, trapping Liu Feiyan so she was completely immobile. Only then did Liu Feiyan react. Her face was ashen as she shrieked, "You've all betrayed Mandarin Duck Valley. Did you collude with the 100 Beast sect behind my back, or did you defect to the southern domain?" Chang'an didn't answer. He simply forced the dozen or so Golden Core masters to once again attack, making them burn through all their potential and lifespans at any cost. Boom! It was another earth-shattering blow. After this strike, Liu Feiyan was somehow still alive, though the treasure protecting her head had dimmed considerably. She was bound tightly, unable to use any other treasures, and could only passively endure the beating. Just one more strike should be enough to finish her off completely. "Xianxia, save me!" Liu Feiyan screamed herself hoarse, her face ghastly pale as she coughed up blood. The next instant, the pendant hanging around her neck suddenly began to glow. With a crack, the pendant abruptly shattered, and a puppet with a stunning aura flew out from within. "What insignificant little curs dare to lay a hand on my Taoist companion?" The puppet swelled in size, its magical power surging and its aura terrifying. With a single punch, it shattered the netherworld evil domain that had been trapping Liu Feiyan. Its power had already surpassed the Golden Core limit, but had not yet reached Tier 4. Chang'an's expression turned grave as he made his judgment. "A quasi-Tier 4 puppet. Zai Zai has a puppet of this tier as well. But Zai Zai's is a pure puppet, one that only she can control." This puppet, however, was emitting an extremely terrifying fluctuation of divine sense. Nascent soul divine sense. And it wasn't just a single wisp of it. This portion of divine sense was incredibly powerful. While not a Tier 4, it far surpassed that of a Golden Core peak cultivator. Xianxia, true monarch, actually split off a portion of his nascent soul divine sense and hid it inside this puppet to personally protect Liu Feiyan. When it came to his Taoist companion, Liu Feiyan, Xianxia, true monarch, had truly done the utmost. He not only arranged for a small-scale Tier 4 array to be set up for her in Mandarin Duck Valley, but also gave her a quasi-Tier 4 puppet for personal protection. A quasi-Tier 4 puppet controlled by a nascent soul true monarch like him could unleash its power to the absolute limit, far surpassing the one Zai Zai possessed. Chapter 639, Chapter 313, Slaying Liu Feiyan, Ransacking Mandarin Duck Valley. "I'm Xianxia, true monarch of the Yellow Sand sect. Who are you?" Xianxia, true monarch, barked, having already figured out the problem. Even if these dozen or so Golden Core masters truly betrayed Mandarin Duck Valley, they wouldn't be so crazily burning through their potential and lifespan. Do they not want to live? Clearly, they're all being controlled by an outsider. Chang'an still didn't answer. With a mere thought, he decisively ordered Fan Wenlong to charge. Boom! Fan Wenlong self-detonated on the spot. The Golden Core he had cultivated for hundreds of years exploded, unleashing the final, fatal blow of his life. Golden Core self-detonation is a Golden Core master's most powerful technique. Years ago, deep within the Black Dragon mountain range, the Mu family's Golden Core ancestor, forced into a desperate situation, used his Golden Core's self-detonation to take a demon king whose physique was comparable to a Tier 3 body refinement expert with him. However, before Xianxia, true monarch, Fan Wenlong's self-detonation amounted to nothing. With a wave of his hand, he condensed his magical power and forcibly blocked the powerful force of the explosion. Meanwhile, in the central domain, within the Yellow Sand sect, a shocking nascent soul aura shot up into the sky. Xianxia, true monarch's true self, brimming with killing intent and a terrifying aura, transformed into a streak of light and shot toward the western domain, disappearing over the horizon in an instant. What happened? Why is the true monarch so furious? I'm afraid someone has provoked the true monarch. Within the Yellow Sand sect, countless disciples looked up, all feeling that world-shaking fury. It seemed someone else was about to die at Xianxia, true monarch's hands. Back in the western domain. With another thought, Chang'an had the remaining dozen or so Golden Core masters charge forward in unison. The next instant, A heaven and earth-shaking boom echoed throughout the entire western domain. Boom! Over a dozen golden core masters, including 2 in the late stage of golden core, simultaneously self-detonated their golden cores. A violent power erupted, instantly surpassing the golden core limit. It was overwhelmingly destructive, rushing to the heavens and flattening everything in all directions. Even the Quasite 4 puppet controlled by Xianxia True Monarch was sent flying backward by the blow, its entire body covered in shocking cracks. Liu Feiyan let out a blood-curdling scream, her expression twisting in pain. The treasure protecting her head shattered in an instant, no longer able to defend her. Her head and body both exploded. Her golden core shattered along with them, dissipating into nothingness amid the terrifying storm. Soul comes. Li Chang'an beckoned with his hand and collected her soul. At the same time, Li Chang'an also got his hands on her storage pouch. Time to go. Without a moment's hesitation, Li Chang'an grabbed the storage pouch and began to flee for his life, pushing his escape technique to its absolute limit. Behind him, Xianxia True Monarch, unable to contain his fury, roared. "How dare you kill my Taoist companion?" His fury soared to the heavens, his eyes looked ready to spew fire, and he chased relentlessly after Li Chang'an. One pursued while the other fled, both displaying astonishing escape techniques. In a flash, they disappeared from the battlefield. During his escape, Li Chang'an quickly erased the restriction on the storage pouch, then used his puppet body to open it. He was extremely cautious. After all, what had happened the last time he opened Shihu Master's storage pouch was still fresh in his mind. Fortunately, this time, there were no treasures inside the storage pouch that would attack on their own. Li Chang'an extended his divine sense inside, quickly scanning the vast number of treasures within. There are quite a lot of treasures, but it's a shame all the high-tier ones have Xianxia True Monarch's divine sense imprint on them. He skimmed past these treasures and soon found, in a corner of the storage pouch, the object he had been plotting to get for years. The cave mansion key. The key had no magical power fluctuations and looked completely unremarkable. It bore no imprints, but the character for Chang was carved on its surface. With a thought, Li Chang'an took it out, gave it a quick inspection, and after confirming it was safe, tossed it into his own storage pouch. "I've finally got it." He had now collected 3 of the 4 keys required to open the cave mansion. Only one remained. He just needed to infuse this key with evergreen magical power to sense the location of the final key. But Li Chang'an was in no mood to sense that key right now. He tossed Liu Feiyan's storage pouch aside and focused solely on escaping with his life. Xianxia True Monarch's Quasite 4 puppet was in hot pursuit right behind him. Even though he had pushed his celestial grade escape technique to its limit, he couldn't shake Xianxia True Monarch's pursuit. This old bastard probably knows a celestial grade escape technique, too. Li Chang'an mused to himself. He couldn't put any distance between them at all. Furthermore, Xianxia True Monarch's divine sense was locked firmly onto him. He doesn't need to catch me. He just needs to stay on my tail until his true self arrives, and then capturing me will be a simple matter. Li Chang'an saw through Xianxia True Monarch's plan. He guessed that Xianxia True Monarch's true self was already on its way. But he didn't panic. After all, he held a realm-sundering talisman, so it wouldn't be a problem even if he had to face Xianxia True Monarch directly. At this moment, he was also controlling the 3 golden core puppets and 2 demon king puppets he had left behind in Mandarin Duck Valley. They were wantonly pillaging Mandarin Duck Valley. With a low hum, the doors to the Mandarin Duck Valley's treasure vault opened. The entire 1,000-year accumulation of Mandarin Duck Valley was laid bare before Li Chang'an's eyes. Over the past few years, he had already used his many golden core puppets to exchange for some of the treasures in the vault. But the treasure vault was still packed with countless treasures, shining with a multicolored, dazzling brilliance. The dense treasure aura was almost too much for the eyes to take in. As expected of the number 1 golden core influence in the Western domain, the sheer number of treasures in this vault far exceeds that of Yellow Crane Immortal City's vault. Li Chang'an had looted Yellow Crane Immortal City before. But Yellow Crane Immortal City didn't have much of a foundation. It was propped up solely by Huang He Master's reputation and couldn't compare to Mandarin Duck Valley. At its peak, Mandarin Duck Valley had nearly 30 golden core masters. Core formation treasures, rare in the outside world, were innumerable in the Mandarin Duck Valley's treasure vault. There were more than 10 high-quality 5-elements golden condensation pills alone. Chapter 640, Chapter 313, Slaying Liu Feiyan, Sacking Mandarin Duck Valley. In addition, there were many common and inferior grade 5-elements golden condensation pills, as well as a dazzling array of core formation spiritual objects. Beyond these, there were also over 10 types of auxiliary medicines for the nascent soul pill. It's a shame there's no main ingredient. Li Chang'an was somewhat disappointed. In Mandarin Duck Valley's 1,000-year history, they had once obtained the main ingredient for the nascent soul pill, but it was ultimately offered as tribute to the Yellow Sand sect. A nascent soul major sect like the Yellow Sand sect kept a tight grip on resources for nascent soul formation. If Li Chang'an could plunder the Yellow Sand sect, he would surely acquire a trove of nascent soul treasures, but he wasn't powerful enough for that right now. Collect. With a wave of his hand, over 10 storage pouches flew out, their mouths gaping open to voraciously draw in every treasure in the vault. At the same moment, the 2 demon kings under his control arrived at Mandarin Duck Valley's library pavilion. Stored within the library pavilion was a vast collection of cultivation techniques, magic, ancient tomes, and all manner of legacies. There are quite a few Tier 1 legacies, enough to cover nearly all of the 100 skills of cultivation immortality. There's no shortage of Tier 2 legacies either, and even over 10 at Tier 3. Li Chang'an had already used a puppet to examine all the legacies in Mandarin Duck Valley's library. Among them, there were a full 5 that reached Tier 3 top grade. They were artifact refining, arrays, talismans, beast taming, and spirit plants. The talismanic inheritance was of some use to Li Chang'an. He had long since studied the art, raising his talisman art to Tier 3 top grade. He had now reached Tier 3 top grade in the 4 major skills of pill refining, talisman art, artifact refining, and array formations. When it came to cultivation immortality techniques alone, he could be considered the foremost master in the western and southern domains. With a great wave of his hand, he swept up all the jade scrolls. In the blink of an eye, the library became completely empty. Furthermore, he spared none of Mandarin Duck Valley's other assets, the spirit medicine garden, the beast breeding ground, and everything else. After a thorough plundering, the entire Mandarin Duck Valley looked as if it had been ravaged by a swarm of locusts. However, due to the array's concealment, the many ordinary disciples of Mandarin Duck Valley were still unaware. Under the effects of the illusion array, the various spirit medicine gardens still appeared to be laden with fruit, their fragrant aroma filling the air. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Time to go. Laden with spoils, Li Chang'an stealthily departed, controlling the 3 golden core masters and 2 demon kings. Once they were a safe distance away, he willed it, and the 3 golden core masters instantly shattered. As for the 2 demon kings, they were taken away by his blood-dripping incarnation. His body refinement required a large amount of Tier 3 demon king essence blood, so he would keep the 2 demon kings in captivity and slowly drain them of their blood. The library and treasure vault are empty, and all the golden core masters are dead. Mandarin Duck Valley has lost its foundation and its leadership. It's now a sect in name only. I wonder, does this count as me helping out the southern domain? Li Chang'an mused to himself. Without Mandarin Duck Valley, a top-tier golden core influence, the balance of power in the war between the 2 domains might now be tipped. Furthermore, the numerous enterprises once controlled by Mandarin Duck Valley could trigger a new wave of internal conflict within the western domain. Of course, none of that had anything to do with him anymore. With a flicker of his body, he took his vast spoils and returned to the southern domain. Meanwhile, unable to shake off Xianxia true monarch, Li Chang'an quietly took out the realm-sundering talisman and activated it. In an instant, a powerful force erupted, enveloping his body and causing him to vanish on the spot. An escaped treasure. Xianxia true monarch arrived in pursuit and searched everywhere, but found nothing. By now Li Chang'an had already used the realm-sundering talisman to return to the heartland of the southern domain. After this use, the spirit patterns on the realm-sundering talisman had dimmed further. They were nowhere near as bright as when Li Chang'an had first obtained it. 3 more uses left. Li Chang'an stored it away with great care. These 3 uses are practically 3 extra lives. I must use them wisely. He returned to Chang'an Mountain and entered the depths of his cave residence, with a wave of his hand. Slam! The cave residence's main door closed tightly, sealing him off from the outside world. Chang'an returned to his usual place of secluded cultivation and let out a slow sigh of relief. All in all, the operation went smoothly. Xianxia, true monarch's puppet, was an unexpected complication, but it didn't change the final outcome. I wonder where the last key is. With a thought, Chang'an took the third key out of his storage pouch. He continuously poured his evergreen magical power into the key, and soon felt a faint connection. As he channeled more magical power, the connection grew clearer. The fourth key, it's in. Chang'an's brow furrowed as he gazed toward the central domain. The key was actually inside the yellow sand sect in the central domain. This is going to be a problem. Chang'an had no desire to set foot in a nascent soul major sect. His disguise technique was good, but it was still just a Tier 3 method. In a nascent soul sect like the Yellow Sand sect, there were most likely Tier 4 methods used to verify the identities of its disciples. If Xianxia, true monarch, recognized him, it would be tantamount to suicide. I can't rush this. First, I need to find a way to confirm who has the key. Chang'an took a deep breath and pushed aside the distracting thoughts in his mind. He took out the venerable soul banner and released Liu Feiyan's soul. Taoist Liu, I have some questions for you. Chang'an. Liu Feiyan's expression changed drastically. Over the years, she had seen portraits of Chang'an countless times and naturally knew what he looked like. But she had never imagined that, when she finally met Chang'an in person, it would be under these circumstances. How could it be you? And why couldn't it be me? It's you. Unable to accept it, Liu Feiyan pointed at Chang'an, her finger trembling. In her mind, even if Chang'an had hidden his strength, it would have been impossible for him to pose a threat to her, let alone escape a pursuit from Xianxia, true monarch. And yet now, Chang'an sat before her, perfectly unharmed. This proved that Chang'an's capabilities far surpassed any of her estimates over the years. No wonder Ah Wei died at your hands. Liu Feiyan thought of Fan Wei's death, and a trace of anger appeared on her face, but it was overshadowed by powerlessness and despair. Now she herself was nothing more than a captive soul in Chang'an's hands. What talk could there be of revenge? She collapsed to the ground, her head hanging low, as if she had lost all her strength. Chang'an said nonchalantly, Taoist Liu, Taoist Fan's soul is right here in my venerable soul banner. If you cooperate with me, I can allow you to be reunited with him. You can be a pair of tragic lovers together within the banner. Is that true? Liu Feiyan suddenly raised her head, a glimmer of hope appearing in her eyes. Chang'an nodded, of course I never lie. Chapter 641, Chapter 314, Nascent Soul Killing Intent, the evil trigram reappears. Once she had his promise, Liu Feiyan became remarkably cooperative. Even the animosity and hatred in her eyes had all but vanished. It seemed that as long as she and Fan Wei could be a pair of doomed lovers, even in death, she cared for nothing else. Chang'an asked her, what is Xianxia, true monarch's cultivation? Early stage of nascent soul. He formed a true soul. As for his actual strength, I'm not sure. I haven't reached the nascent soul realm, so I can't judge it accurately. Liu Feiyan answered slowly and truthfully. Indeed, it was very difficult for a golden core cultivator to accurately judge the strength of a nascent soul true monarch. Chang'an didn't press her on the matter. Taoist Liu, what is your relationship with Fan Wei? He finally asked the question that had long been on his mind. Though he had his suspicions, he wanted to hear the truth from Liu Feiyan herself. He and I were childhood sweethearts. We grew up in the same mortal realm, sought out cultivation immortality together, entered Mandarin Duck Valley together, and even studied under the same master. As she spoke of this, a flicker of sorrow crossed Liu Feiyan's eyes. According to her, after she and Fan Wei both reached Foundation establishment, they had wanted to become Taoist companions. Unfortunately, the saint child of the Yellow Sand sect at the time had taken a fancy to her. He was a ruthless man, and he threatened Fan Wei's life to force her into becoming his Taoist companion. That saint child of the Yellow Sand sect was none other than the current Xianxia true monarch. After that, Fan Wei grew disheartened. Thinking Liu Feiyan had no feelings for him, he became Taoist companions with another female cultivator. I see. The story matched what Li Chang'an had suspected. The reason so little was known about the matter in the outside world was simply because it involved Xianxia True Monarch, a nascent soul powerhouse. Xianxia True Monarch's feelings for Liu Feiyan were indeed genuine. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given her so many treasures. But his methods were dishonorable. However, in the cultivation immortality realm, the weak were prey for the strong. This sort of thing had happened countless times throughout the history of the cultivation immortality realm. After some more questioning, Li Chang'an brought up the matter of the key. Where did you get this key? In a secret realm. Liu Feiyan described in detail how she had obtained the key. Of course, like Shihu Master, she didn't cultivate the ancient wood evergreen technique. She didn't know the key's specific function, only that it felt extraordinary. Over the years, she had tried all sorts of methods, but the key never reacted to her in the slightest. Furthermore, she had tried to find information about the key. She had unexpectedly learned that besides her, another disciple from the Yellow Sand sect had also obtained a similar key. At this, Li Chang'an's attention sharpened. Oh, and who might that be? How strong are they? He's Huangsha's head disciple, Gu Yunqi. Right now, he's the strongest saint child in the Yellow Sand sect. So it's him. Li Chang'an frowned. This person would not be easy to deal with. Gu Yunqi's strength should be comparable to Zai Zai's, making him virtually invincible below the nascent soul realm. He must have a great many tricks up his sleeve. Li Chang'an suspected that this man could even hold his own for a short while against a true nascent soul true monarch. Even outside the Yellow Sand sect, killing him would be no easy feat. Moreover, the man spent most of his time within the Yellow Sand sect. Li Chang'an asked, does Gu Yunqi have any weaknesses? Is it possible to lure him out of the Yellow Sand sect? Weaknesses? I'm not sure. Liu Feiyan thought for a moment before shaking her head. However, he is in desperate need of a certain ancient treasure pill. The few times he has left the Yellow Sand sect were in search of it. If you have that pill, you might be able to lure him out. What treasure pill? The Earth Cloud Yellow Sand pill. Liu Feiyan slowly spoke a name that was very familiar to Li Chang'an. She continued, although this pill is only a Tier 3 elixir, its pill formula was lost long ago. It's not in any of the alchemical lineages, and even the Tier 4 alchemist of the Yellow Sand sect doesn't know how to refine it. To think it's that pill. Li Chang'an's heart skipped a beat. As it happened, he had the pill formula for the Earth Cloud Yellow Sand pill. Previously, he had helped Qi Yao obtain the legacy of a senior pill master. That legacy contained over a dozen ancient pill formulas, including the one for the Earth Cloud Yellow Sand pill. According to the pill formula, the pill was suitable for cultivators with an Earth Spirit root, and its benefits were especially pronounced for those with a Yellow Sand Spirit body. Could Gu Yunqi have a Yellow Sand Spirit body? That's right. Liu Feiyan gave Li Chang'an a surprised look. He's exceptionally talented. His spiritual root is an Earth Spirit root, and he also possesses the Yellow Sand Spirit body. The quality of his golden core is immortal. That's how he stood out among all the saint children and saintesses to become the one in the Yellow Sand sect with the greatest hope of reaching nascent soul formation. An immortal golden core. Li Chang'an pondered for a moment. The only other immortal golden core cultivators he'd known of were himself and Yi Mengxian. And Yi Mengxian had only managed to form such a golden core because of her special constitution. A golden core of that quality was simply too difficult to form. Once formed, one's strength would far surpass that of other cultivators at the same level. In that case, Zai Zai must also have an immortal golden core. She also has an Earth Spirit root and a spirit body, not to mention a nascent soul true monarch for a master. Her circumstances are almost identical to Gu Yunqi's. Li Chang'an decided he would find Zai Yun when he had a chance, and ask about Zai Zai's actual strength. As Zai Zai's own sister, Zai Yun was bound to know a great deal. By gauging Zai Zai's strength, he could estimate Gu Yunqi's. Regardless, Gu Yunqi had to be killed. The man was already hostile toward him and also carried the last key. He had to find a way to eliminate him. If Gu Yunqi were allowed to break through to the nascent soul realm, Li Chang'an would face an even greater threat. In the days to come, I'll first investigate his strength properly. At the same time, I need to figure out how to gather the treasures required to refine the Earth Cloud Yellow Sand pill. Li Chang'an had long since memorized the contents of the Earth Cloud Yellow Sand pill's pill formula. Most of the required treasures were quite common. However, a few were exceptionally rare, so rare that most golden core cultivators had likely never even heard of them. Chapter 642, Chapter 314, Nascent Soul's Killing Intent, the evil trigram reappears. The three treasures, thousand-year earth pattern ginseng, spirit cloud fruit, and yellow sand star crystal, were fairly common back in the ancient times, but they're almost impossible to find in the current cultivation immortality realm. I wonder if they can be substituted. These three treasures were Li Chang'an's biggest headache. The others were manageable. Afterward, he asked about various details concerning Gu Yunqi. But Liu Feiyan didn't know much either. She had spent years inside Mandarin Duck Valley, and most of what she knew about Gu Yunqi came from Huang Sha, True Monarch. She hadn't had much direct contact with the man himself. After some questioning, Li Chang'an waved his hand and recalled Liu Feiyan into the venerable soul banner. He kept his promise, allowing Liu Feiyan and Fan Yunfei to meet inside the venerable soul banner, even giving them their own private space. In the past, the two of them hadn't dared to interact much under the pressure from Huang Sha, True Monarch. Now they were actually a bit more at ease. These two really are fugitive lovers, with only their souls left. Li Chang'an glanced at them before looking away and putting the venerable soul banner away. After this, he began to take stock of all his gains. Although Mandarin Duck Valley's thousand-year accumulation was vast, most of it was useless to him. He would have to sell it off piece by piece later. While he was sorting through the treasures, news of the incident at Mandarin Duck Valley slowly began to spread. At first, many people didn't believe it. Mandarin Duck Valley was considered the #1 golden core influence in the entire western and southern domains, and Liu Feiyan, its master, was Huang Sha, True Monarch's Dao companion, who would be so bold as to move against Mandarin Duck Valley. However, it wasn't long before more detailed news emerged. What? Mandarin Duck Valley's treasure vault and library are both empty. The soul lamps of their golden core cultivators have all been extinguished. Each piece of news was more shocking than the last. Soon, golden core masters from numerous western domain influences rushed to Mandarin Duck Valley and confirmed the matter. Because Huang Sha, True Monarch's stance was unclear, no one made a move for the time being, even though many were eager to carve up the various industries controlled by Mandarin Duck Valley. However, the numerous influences of the southern domain did take action. Gu Qingheng summoned the masters from various golden core influences to gather at the Cyan Cloud sect and discuss a counterattack. Throughout the entire southern domain, everyone received Gu Qingheng's message, except for Li Chang'an of Chang'an Mountain. As for Li Chang'an, everyone had long since assumed he wouldn't come. In the western and southern domains, Chang'an Mountain held a rather special position. If it weren't for the fact that it had offended Mandarin Duck Valley, it could have been considered a completely neutral power. Li Chang'an rarely took the initiative to attack. The few times he went to the battlegrounds, his performance was unremarkable, and he spent most of his time on the defensive. Now that disaster had struck Mandarin Duck Valley, Li Chang'an's name quickly vanished from the Western Domain's wanted list. The other golden core influences in the Western Domain didn't see him as an enemy. That Li Chang'an is just a turtle. There's no need to deal with him. If we really conquer the Southern Domain, we can just accept him as one of the Western Domain's own. The various powers of the Western Domain had long been aware of Li Chang'an's disposition. For this very reason, although the war between the two domains was escalating, Li Chang'an had become an almost invisible, peripheral figure. In fact, many cultivators from both domains who were weary of war came to Chang'an Mountain with their families, begging Li Chang'an to take them in. Chang'an Mountain had now become a sanctuary of sorts. Li Chang'an was happy to see this. There's nothing good about all this fighting and killing. Peaceful cultivation is the righteous Tao. In a world growing ever more chaotic, he was enjoying a rare moment of peace. Not long after, taking advantage of the Western Domain's weakness and chaos, the cultivators of the Southern Domain launched a formal counteroffensive. In less than a month, they had pushed the front line back to the original border between the two domains. At this point, the ancient ruined secret realm was once again split evenly between the two sides. The fighting around the ancient ruined secret realm grew increasingly brutal. Li Chang'an heard that more sect ruins and treasures had recently appeared within the ancient ruined secret realm. Several people had already obtained opportunities to reach the nascent soul realm there. For this reason, neither side was willing to back down. Inside and outside the ancient ruin's secret realm, the bodies of cultivators from the two domains piled up layer by layer, and the entire land was soaked in blood. Truly brutal. Chang'an sighed to himself as he read the news in his hand. Once the intensity of the fighting dies down a bit, I'll send my golden core puppets to explore deep into the secret realm. After all, there are nascent soul opportunities to be had. He had no intention of going now. He had protected his few golden core puppets quite well throughout this bloody war between the two domains. A puppet's life was still a life, after all. As he was thinking, it grew late at night. A golden light materialized before Chang'an's eyes. Divination has been refreshed. Today's divination, evil. Xianxia, true monarch, suddenly tears up the spirit contract and brazenly attacks you. You use the realm-sundering talisman to tear open the void and escape, but this method of escape convinces Xianxia, true monarch, that you are the culprit. An evil trigram. Chang'an's heart jumped when he saw the divination's content. Xianxia, true monarch, was going to ignore the backlash from the spirit contract and attack him without any definitive evidence. My cultivation is still too shallow. I'm no match for him. I should avoid him for now and let Elder Jiang handle this. With a flicker, Chang'an appeared inside Jiang Muyu's cave residence. Jiang Muyu was still in the middle of her cultivation. She asked in confusion, "Young master, has something happened?" "Muyu, a friend of mine told me that Xianxia, true monarch, is planning to make a move against me. You need to contact Elder Jiang right away." Jiang Muyu's expression changed slightly. She hastily took out a communication treasure to inform her father, Jiang Xuanyuan, of the situation. Afterward, the two of them left Chang'an Mountain together, not even leaving an incarnation behind, and fled eastward. Along the way, Jiang Muyu said angrily, "Young master, that Xianxia, true monarch, is just too shameless. A dignified nascent soul true monarch, attacking a junior like you not once, but twice." Chapter 643. Chapter 314. A nascent soul's killing intent, the evil trigram reappears. Chang'an said calmly, "In his eyes, we aren't juniors but ants. Crushing a few ants requires no consideration for his reputation. One's mentality naturally changes with status and power." Jiang Muyu bit her lip, indignation swelling in her heart. "Sir, I will definitely reach the nascent soul realm and kill Xianxia, true monarch, for you." She too believed that Chang'an would never reach nascent soul. Golden core is his limit. He'll never be able to face Xianxia, true monarch, not even on his deathbed. For that very reason, she secretly swore never to slack off again. She had to reach nascent soul and avenge Chang'an. Chang'an just smiled, saying nothing more. It's good for her to have a goal. Ever since her father, Jiang Xuanyuan, became a nascent soul true monarch, Jiang Muyu's sense of urgency about her cultivation had diminished. The two continued their journey without pause as they spoke. Eventually, they met Jiang Xuanyuan halfway, who had rushed over from the eastern domain. Jiang Xuanyuan was puzzled as to why Xianxia, true monarch, had torn up the spirit contract. "Li, is the information from your friend truly trustworthy?" "Rest assured, Elder Jiang, my friend has never deceived me." Chang'an answered with a sincere expression. "The divination has never been wrong. It's helped me escape death several times." Jiang Xuanyuan asked again, "Have you done anything recently to anger Xianxia, true monarch?" "Elder Jiang, I focus solely on my cultivation and have never intentionally provoked anyone." Chang'an's tone was firm and sincere. However, his disciple and Tao companion both met with unfortunate ends recently. He might have placed the suspicion on me. "Oh, tell me everything." Jiang Xuanyuan had recently been occupied with the Wang family, a nascent soul family from the northern domain. The eastern and northern domains were also at war. The conflict between Great Qi and the Wang family was escalating, so he hadn't paid much attention to matters in the western and southern domains. On the way back to Chang'an Mountain, Chang'an gave Jiang Xuanyuan a detailed account of what had occurred across the two domains. By the time he finished, Chang'an Mountain was already visible in the distance. In a courtyard on Chang'an Mountain, a cultivator in yellow robes stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His expression was grim and his aura piercing, his body suffused with the tyrannical magical power of a true monarch. It was Xianxia, true monarch. Jiang Xuanyuan stepped forward and said in a low voice, "Taoist Xianxia, Why did you break our spirit contract? Xianxia True Monarch answered, to kill Li Chang'an, of course. I want to know why. As he spoke, Zhang Xuanyuan's True Monarch's magical power began to emanate from him. The auras of the two nascent soul True Monarchs clashed over Chang'an Mountain. The very sky seemed to shift. Winds howled and dark clouds gathered, heralding an impending storm. Xianxia True Monarch glanced at Li Chang'an, his gaze frigid and brimming with killing intent. Taoist Jiang, my disciple and my Tao companion, have both recently died. This boy is a suspect. Taoist Xianxia, Li Chang'an's cultivation is only at the early stage of golden core. Do you truly believe he has the ability to kill your precious disciple and Tao companion? Zhang Xuanyuan did not mince his words. No matter how one looked at it, there was no way a mere loose cultivator at the early stage of golden core like Li Chang'an could have killed those two. Xianxia True Monarch was, of course, aware of this. The suspicion on Li Chang'an was minuscule, practically non-existent. But even a sliver of suspicion is enough. He deserves to die. A magnificent True Monarch doesn't need much of a reason to kill a golden core cultivator. Taoist Jiang, you're really going to protect him? That's right. Zhang Xuanyuan's stance was firm, and he refused to back down an inch. Seeing this, Xianxia True Monarch wasted no more words. Very well. I've long heard of your exceptional abilities, Taoist Jiang. Today I shall test them for myself. With that, he shot into the sky, his robes whipping in the wind as his aura climbed higher and higher. Zhang Xuanyuan also soared into the sky. The two did not fight near Chang'an Mountain. Instead, they flew deep into the Black Dragon Mountain range, avoiding the many low-tier cultivators and choosing to battle in demon beast territory. On that day, the terrifying aura of two nascent soul True Monarchs engaged in magical combat shook the entire Black Dragon Mountain range. Some saw a vast, endless river of yellow sand descend from the heavens, threatening to submerge the world. Others saw an azure spear materialize in the sky, its edge so sharp it seemed ready to pierce the vast cosmos. When the battle ended, countless mountain ranges below had crumbled, leaving the land a scene of utter devastation. The war between the western and southern domains even ground to a halt because of this nascent soul battle. In the end, Xianxia True Monarch departed. Zhang Xuanyuan returned to Chang'an Mountain, his aura slightly more turbulent than before. Li Chang'an asked anxiously, Elder Jiang, are you all right? I'm fine, it was merely a spar. That Xianxia just wanted to test my depth. Zhang Xuanyuan shook his head, and his aura quickly stabilized. He had only recently advanced to nascent soul, so his foundation was indeed not as profound as Xianxia True Monarch's. However, the gap between them was not large. Both were early-stage nascent soul cultivators. Zhang Xuanyuan said, I have forged a new spirit contract with him. He won't bother you again. Li Chang'an was still uneasy. Elder Jiang, I'm just worried about what might happen. Don't worry. I told him that if he dares to make a move against you again, I will kill all his disciples and descendants. Hearing this, Li Chang'an finally felt a measure of security. Of course, even if Xianxia True Monarch acts again, disregarding the lives of his disciples and descendants, the divination will warn me in time to escape. Worst case, I'll just abandon Chang'an Mountain, live in anonymity, and return to settle this score once I become a true monarch myself. News of the nascent soul battle quickly spread throughout the Zhao country cultivation immortality realm, shaking countless cultivators. Nascent soul True Monarchs rarely came to blows. Upon reaching the nascent soul realm, one's only pursuits were the paths to divinity transformation and ascension. There was no need to fight to the death over trivial conflicts. It had been a very long time since a true nascent soul battle had taken place in all of Zhao country. Many began to speculate on the combatants' identities and the reason for their fight. Inside the Yellow Sand sect, Xianxia True Monarch's face was grim. He summoned his first disciple, Gu Yunqi, and his third disciple, Wei Su. You two kill Li Chang'an as soon as possible. Do not disappoint me. He sat on his high seat, his aura immense, as he bestowed two True Monarchs' decrees upon them. Both disciples accepted a decree. Yes, we shall obey Master's decree. The two naturally guessed that one of the True Monarchs who had fought was their master. The river of yellow sand was his master's signature treasure. Master is in a foul mood. We have to kill that Li Chang'an quickly. After withdrawing, the two discussed their plan in earnest. Meanwhile, within the Purple Mist sect, A young cultivator emerged from seclusion, his body suffused with the magical power of a middle-stage golden core cultivator. If Li Chang'an had been there, he would have recognized him. This man was none other than Liu Xuanfeng. Years ago, he had targeted Li Chang'an multiple times in the southern domain. He later returned to the Purple Mist sect to pursue core formation and hadn't been heard from since. I've been in seclusion for so many years. I wonder how the outside world has changed. Liu Xuanfeng smiled and went to visit an old acquaintance. After a brief conversation, the smile on his face suddenly froze. What did you say? That Li Chang'an from Chang'an Mountain. He actually reached Golden Core.